An unfortunate teenager is reborn as his favorite superhero Superman in the Marvel Universe. He will experience the meanings of friendship, love, heroism, and much more. No harem. This is an alternate universe heavily inspired by the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the comics, but does not follow any of their plots. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni Sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in Marvel as Superman? Part 1. If you enjoy this type of content, please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Remember to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's dive into the rise of the marvelous Superman without further ado. The last thing he saw, before the serene darkness, was a truck speeding towards him. And he could have sworn that the truck was aiming at him whilst smirking, but that could have been his mind playing tricks on him. The next thing he knew is that he's floating in a darkness so deep it's tempting to call it something else than darkness. He felt a bit bitter about it. Not once had anything in his life gone his way. Not once has life given him a lemon to make lemonade. He was born with a chronic disease. He became an orphan few days after his birth. Not only that, but he didn't have much. However, he did create some clever devices and gadgets that could help the everyday life of people with disabilities and diseases. What's more, he donated his riches to research facilities to help cure ailments. What he lacked in physical abilities, he made up in intelligence. However, his life would not last long. Doctors told him that he would live to the age of 18 at most, which was a bitter pill for him to swallow. He had not lived his life to the fullest. His life was devoted to finding new ways to make his life and other people's lives easier and hopefully better. But in pursuit of that goal, he never made any friends, family, or had any experience of this unfortunate but beautiful world. His body was weak, and worst part? He never made it to 17 because of that unfortunate event, where he was hit by a speeding truck. At least he was used to pain, so he died feeling at home. Though there was this one time his face was on some trivial magazine that named him Boy of Tomorrow, though it didn't change a single thing for him, and people forgot about him the day after. While floating in this darkness, he couldn't help imagine himself flying high above the clouds, carry the weight of the world on his shoulders and move in unfathomable speeds. He always dreamt of this when he fell asleep, that he could leave all physical restrictions and be free of his pain while carrying the symbol of an S on his chest. With that speed the truck was traveling at, I should have died. But if I died, I should have stopped existing, right? Maybe I'm in some kind of suspended consciousness state, a coma, more or less. That would explain why I can still think but not sense the world around me nor feel my body. After an unknown span of time, something happened. The darkness began to quiver and reverberate, and these vibrations started to condense. At first he was shocked, then he felt afraid. But the vibration condensed into humanoid form. This new being had a blurred face, no hair, and his body under his head seemed to stretch and fluctuate as if space itself was. So youngling, it seems as if you're a special case. The unknown being spoke, but it was really a deep voice. It is as if the void itself vibrated those words into existence. It was nerve-wracking for the teen that died. But he also understood that the words must have come from the unknown being. Then an idea hit him. Are you God? The teen asked. He was shocked that he could speak, since he initially only thought about the question. But the man only chuckled, a chuckle that seemed so powerful that it could create earthquakes. No, I am simply a being that is supposed to manage the so-called samsara circle, the afterlife and hereafter. The voice was filled with patience and wisdom, which gave the teen courage to further ask, but doesn't that make you a god? If not the god. No, if I am going to explain it in terms you understand, I would say that God is everything and everywhere. He is the essence of all existing matter and energy, fate, destiny, the will of the world, if you will. God could be explained as an airline, or the CEO of an airline, while I'm nothing more than an airline ticket agent, selling you a ticket to the next destination and life. Of course, the right to get the ticket depends on what you have done in your life to deserve it. Does that mean that I get to be reincarnated? Do I get wishes like in novels? The teen couldn't help but to exert a bit of excitement. You have had many drawbacks in your life, and most people would become bitter because of it. You, however, Live to better the lives of everyone else, including those with similar drawbacks as yourself. You get 3 wishes for your next life, or you could simply wish to cease to exist, or move on to heaven. Furthermore, you can also choose to jump into the samsara circle and be reborn into your former planet. I'm sure you'll be born fortunate this time. Among the infinite number of living beings in all the infinite universes, few get to choose like you do, so chose wisely youngling. As if knowing exactly what he wants, the teen immediately responds, my first wish is to be reborn in Kal-El's body without his weaknesses such as kryptonite and magic. My second wish is that I get Deadpool's powers. My third wish is that I get a pair of ordinary glasses, that when put on, it's almost impossible to connect my face with my alter ego's face. Not even machines with facial recognition should be able to. And it should be made by materials that are incredibly strong so it doesn't break. And if it does break, it should be able to repair itself. And it should also have an inventory, that is 3 big wishes, the unknown man sighed. Which the teen grew anxious about. He didn't want to lose his perks, so he spoke up. I'm sorry I wished for more than 3 wishes in my excitement. Let me make 3 now, he was interrupted by the man. Do not worry, you see, a being like myself was made to be pure. As such I cannot take back my words, and since you presented your wishes as 3, I allow it. Though I might get demoted, I am new at this, and you're my first case of GXFFGR2, meaning you get wishes. I have learned a precious lesson for the next time I am presented with a GXFFGR2 situation. The teen looked happy at first, but he didn't want this airline ticket agent to get in trouble for accidentally giving him first-class tickets. No worries. I've already gotten more than I could wish for, so let me make 3 simple wishes. The man simply looked at the teen. He could feel the teen's considerate intentions. Though the teen couldn't see his blurred face, he felt like the man was smiling. Youngling, worry not. In fact, I will gift you with being reborn in a Marvel universe. However, let me warn you about something. The teen grew excited at knowing that he'll be reborn in a Marvel universe. Even though your former planet has fiction that entails the Marvel one, do not think that the Marvel world is not real. You will meet real humans, with real emotions. Do not treat it as a game or some kind of fiction. I see, well, I wouldn't even if I thought I lived in fiction, but how come we know about the Marvel universe in Earth, I mean my former world? In your universe there is almost an infinite number of worlds, but what if there is an unlimited number of universes outside yours? You cannot even imagine the size of your own universe. There is a gigantic, humongous number of solar systems in yours. And since there is an unlimited number of universes outside yours, that means there is an unlimited number of planets, solar system, lives, and even Earths in the universe. Somewhere out there is a planet exactly like yours, and a planet with exact the same history, events, and human interaction as yours. No, not only one, but an infinite number of worlds exactly as yours. My point is that since the universe is extended forever, your simple mind cannot imagine something that does not exist in the thread of universes. And every fiction that you can possibly come up with, almost definitely has happened or will happen at least an infinite amount of times, in an infinite amount of variations. Does that make sense? I feel a bit dizzy, but if I got it right, everything that can happen, most probably has or will happen, and as such, everything I can imagine is included in that. The teen had newfound respect for the size of the universe of universes. Precisely. The man felt glad that his long and boring explanation was understood. And as such I will find a baby Kal-El flying through space without his soul. With a mutation, that is to say, an X gene with the exact properties that you asked for while simultaneously, by some odd reason also has the glasses with magical properties you asked for, inside his ship. And send you into his body. Since his earlier explanation was appreciated, the man decided to explain the process of the teen's rebirth. The teen also understood that he must be a soul right now, and that's why he couldn't feel his body. One more thing. Even though your soul is you, your body and experience will have an effect on who you are as a person. Kal-El, and all other people of the House of El are prone to be kind and passionate. However, if you're raised in an unforgiving environment, you'll be affected. But then again, you've already had it pretty rough, and still turned out to be a great person. Oh, when you're reborn, even though you have knowledge of your past life, your brain will still be undeveloped as a child. That is to say, you will be a child even with the knowledge of your former life. Though some knowledge will be locked, before the teen could even react he fell asleep. Kevin opens his eyes and looks at the ceiling. Tonight he slept like a baby, however, he felt weird. Ever since he could remember, he started dreaming of his past life. His memories came back to him during his sleep, and now he was fully aware of his past, except his name. And now that he remembers his past, he feels weird. First of all, even now that he remembers his past, He isn't the same person as he used to be. He's also Kevin B. Collins, ironically a small-town boy 100 miles from New York, reminiscent of his former favorite superhero Superman. The night before this, he remembered meeting that man who gave him his wishes. Turning his head, he saw his glasses on his night table. These glasses were the only thing his parents found him with when they found him on the roadside beside a crater. His parents weren't able to have children, so when they found him, it was a blessing for them. The crater was a mystery for the people of Branchville. The local police and detectives couldn't find where it came from. However, finding a child near it made them conclude that some kind of accident must have happened, and the parents must have escaped the crime scene, leaving their child behind. They couldn't find a missing child in the province that matched the child they found. So they assumed that the child was unwanted, and after a few legal matters, the Collins adopted him. The people of Branchville often called the crater one of the top 10 mysteries of Branchville. Though there was no other mystery one would think of when thinking about Branchville, the title just stuck with the people of Branchville. Even though I remember my memories from my past life, my current life has changed me somewhat. I'm still me, but wiser, I guess. But now I also know why I'm different from the others, and remembering my past. I'm kind of glad I ended up as a farm boy with parents similar to the Kents. Kevin thought while holding his glasses. He always knew he was adopted, and his family knew about his powers. Now he knows that he's still growing. His powers are a part of his biological abilities, so they grow with him. His abilities are inborn, not acquired, which makes him different from most superheroes in this world. As he put them on, he felt something he never felt before. He felt the presence of a spaceship within the glasses, as if the glasses held an inventory. He never felt it before, but that might be because he wasn't aware of it even being there. He should find some place to examine the spaceship more. Kevin, wake up. It's time for breakfast, then go feed the cows. Your dad already fixed the fence that you didn't. The voice of his mother awoke him from his thoughts. I'll get to it, Ma, Kevin shouted back. He used to hate chores, however. Somewhere along his childhood he started to remember how physically disabled he was in his former life, so he started enjoying it, working with his body, that is. Also wake Tyler and Elena up as well. Alright, Kevin chuckled while thinking about his little sister and brother. A few months after he was adopted, his mother finally became pregnant, with twins no less. A miracle, they called it. So his parents blamed him and called him their miracle maker. He picked up his plain white shirt and put it on, though it was dirty from the field work he has to do every morning. He went to his brother's room and was about to knock, however his brother rushed out, shouting something about being the best farmer. So Kevin simply went to the next door knocking. Elena was already up, so she simply yelled out that she'll soon be down to eat breakfast. Getting downstairs, his mother was gone to work and his brother was eating like there's no tomorrow. Tyler loved farming and wanted to prove himself better than his brother, so he could take over the farm when he's older. Kevin's passion for physical work and farming definitely had a contagious effect on Tyler. Tyler felt like he had to win against his older brother to inherit the farm. Though Kevin didn't really want to take over the farm. He had bigger plans. But neither knows what the other is thinking. While feeding the cows and horses, he pondered the life-changing event that would happen in a few days. He would move to an apartment in New York so he could go to Midtown High School. Even though he's only 14, he's quite mature for his age, and if anything happens he could run to the farm within a couple of minutes, even though it's about 100 miles away. Furthermore, his mother travels to New York every weekend because of work so she can check up on him. Suddenly, he heard his brother snicker from the other side of the barn, where he was feeding the hens. He mumbled, Stupid Kev will lose this time. I'll be done feeding these chicks before he's done with his chores, Usually one wouldn't hear someone mumble from 100 meters or so, except that stupid, evil laugh Tyler made. But Kevin had started to develop his super hearing recently, and would at times just hear a little too much. He would sometimes accidentally hear people talking privately from far away. He's trying to control his hearing, but he wasn't exceptionally adept at it yet, but he'll get there. Kevin just chuckled and decided to cheat a little, so he sped up and finished his chores within seconds. Only after 10 minutes or so did Kevin get a berating from his 12-year-old little brother about cheating, though Tyler was mostly ignored. Tyler then went on to do more chores, while Elena went to the neighbors to meet up with her friend. Kevin decided to speak to his father about the spaceship and his alien ancestry. Kevin went to where his father is moving haystack with one of his trucks. The Collins had a good amount of wealth, in comparison to the Kents. And their farm was quite big. They sold a lot of raw materials and products such as milk, meat, wood, hay, wool. A bit of everything, really. In his father's truck sat a middle-aged, brown-haired man with blue eyes. He was humming to something while working. "Dad, I think I'm an alien." Kevin said this with a totally straight face, only to receive a laugh from his dad. "Even though you have special abilities, son, we all feel a little bit like aliens at times, even more so under the teenage years. It might feel awkward and lonely at times, but don't worry about it. You'll find your place in this world sooner or later." His father had a gentle look of wisdom on his face, as if knowing exactly what Kevin meant. Kevin just let his father finish, partly because he didn't know how to proceed, and partly because he felt awkward about dropping such a bomb on his father. "No, Dad, I'm serious. I don't think my abilities come from some mutation as you and Mom previously thought." Kevin was slightly worried. His parents were okay with him being a mutant, so aliens should also be fine, right? Seeing the serious and slightly nervous look on Kevin's face, his father became slightly more serious himself. "What would make you believe so, son?" This time Kevin's father is more focused on his son. "Well, you know the glasses you and Mom found me with? Those are not normal glasses. They contain a spaceship within them." At this, Kevin's father just let out a chuckle. "Stop pulling my leg already. I've got work to do. You almost got me there, but you took it one step too far. Your glasses contain a spaceship? Ha ha ha, you should pull that on Mama Bear later." But before his father could continue with his work, Kevin interrupted him again. "Dad, first of all, stop calling Mom Mama Bear, it's lame. Second of all, I'm serious. The glasses contain a spaceship, which would also explain one of the so-called top 10 mysteries of Branchville. Everything fits: the spaceship, the crater. I have multiple abilities while most mutants only got one, according to an internet site at least." Kevin almost had a pleading look on his face, and his father noticed. "Show me," was all his father could say. How should he react to something like this? The son telling his parents that he is an alien? Where is Mama Bear when Papa Bear needs her? "Well, we need to go somewhere with a lot of more space. The barn should do." At the barn, when Kevin put on the glasses, he shocked his dad to the core. If his dad hadn't seen his son put on the glasses, he wouldn't have recognized Kevin. And the problem is that his son doesn't look any different, but somehow he feels completely like another person. His dad tried the glasses on, but nothing magical happened. Kevin tried to get the spaceship out of the inventory, but somehow it was difficult to succeed. He tried different commands, but nothing worked. His father was also getting a bit restless. In the end, he closed his eyes and tried to feel the spaceship once more, and then he felt it move out of the glasses. What happened next surprised both of the son and father equally, even though they were both expecting it. "What the?" "It just came out of thin air. Son, I think we should call Mama Bear." His father's voice contained a bit of excitement in his voice, which unnerved Kevin a bit. His father noticed this as well. "Don't worry, son. We'll love you no matter what. In fact, I think we'll love you even more now. There's a secret your mother and I never told anyone. We're the biggest fans of the Alien movies. In fact, that's how we met, on this one site where we discussed how awesome." Listening to his father, Kevin got a bit dizzy, and a bit more worried. Why the heck would he mention the Alien movies? He's nothing like those monster aliens. "Dad, please stop it. Honestly, you and Mom loving the fact that I'm an alien because of the movies worries me more than you hating aliens." But his father just picked up his phone without a care. Well, he was slightly too excited. "Yeah, Mama Bear, it's Papa Bear. Remember Code Green?" "Yeah, Code Green." His father said those words solemnly, and then just ended the call. "Dad, what is Code Green?" Kevin started to regret telling his father about this. A child can have a secret, or two, can't he? "You see, son, ever since Mama Bear and Papa Bear started to date, we've had one golden rule. No, a golden law that kept us together through the rough and thick. Which kept our love stronger than Captain America himself. That is Code Green." "Dad, what is Code Green?" Kevin repeated his question with a hint of, "Get serious, or I'll beat yo butt" tone. "We created Code Green in case either of us ever found a real-life alien or a spaceship. And if either of us ever speaks the words Code Green, the other will drop whatever they are doing and hurry up to the location of the caller. In this case here. We've never used the code in all of our marriage since neither ever found an alien, nor a spaceship. But as expected of you, our little miracle maker, you made it possible to signal the code." There was almost a noble aura surrounding the father whilst he spoke so graciously. Kevin had never seen this side of his father before. He wasn't sure if his father was doing this to diminish his worries or simply because his parents were secretly big Alien believers/fans. It almost feels like finding out that your quite serious and hard-working parents are secretly otakus. It hadn't even gone 8 minutes before they heard a car drive into their farm. What the? If Mom was at work, it should have taken at least a 15-minute drive to get here. They are quite serious about this code green business, aren't they? Papa Bear, where did you see it? When did you see it? She was shouting with excitement even before she got into the barn. After explaining everything they had found out, Kevin's mother had a too excited look on her face. Mom, Dad, please, don't be like that, son with great alien powers, his father started. Comes great parental excitement, his mother ended. I just wanted to let you guys know about this. I hope that you won't be weird about this, but he was cut off by his parents' actions. While he was explaining his reasons, they had put on alien masks and shirts that said, #family. Son, don't worry, we won't be weird about this, they both said with a muffled voice through their masks. Taking off their masks, Mama Bear said, don't worry, son, even though we're very excited, we won't let that affect our reason. After the spectacle, a few days passed by and it was time to move. They had already moved his clothes and his things to the new apartment close to Midtown High, and he was being driven by his mother as she was on her way to work. Even though we just said bye, I still miss Tyler and Elena already, Kevin said with a nostalgic voice. Don't worry, you'll see them soon enough, and I'll come visit after work, before I go home to make sure you're settled in. Also make sure that you eat properly. Thanks, Mom. After a week of school, Kevin came to a horrible conclusion. He wasn't in the same year as Spider-Man. He had hopes of him and Spider-Man being classmates and coming out as superheroes together. But there was no Peter Parker in Midtown High. His plans were destroyed by fate, nonetheless. During his second year, he changed into jeans, a yellow hoodie with a red S drawn on his chest to fight crime during after work and school hours. He thought it would be hard to find people in need of help, but he was wrong. Marvel World doesn't let you down. He started gaining fame as rumors started going around New York about someone dressed in yellow hoodie, flashing by and saving people from burning buildings, burglars, bank robbers, and more. Soon blurry videos started spreading through iTube. He gained lots of attention in the media. Most people even thought that it was all fake. As school was ending, Kevin B. Collins went home and picked up his yellow hoodie. I always liked the Prime Superman suit, even the Yellow Lantern suit. Sentry suit also piqued my interest, even though the traditional red and blue will always stay in my heart. In this world, the red and blue belong to Captain America. Even Spider-Man will be someone that is considered copying Captain's color theme. Holding the hoodie, Kevin pondered for a minute. There's also the white and gold Superman suit that makes him look almost immortal and holy. The black suit is definitely one of the coolest, but it makes him look dark. But I need to change up the colors a bit. A lot of nicknames are starting to pop up, one of which is Sunny. Kevin looked at his other hoodie, a red one with a yellow S on it. At least this way they won't call me Sunny. There is also a white hoodie, a black hoodie, and a blue hoodie on his bed. Suddenly Kevin heard the sirens of fire trucks driving by fast. As such, he picked up the blue one so he'll be visible in case there's a building on fire. Putting it on, he took off his glasses, which made it impossible to think of this face as Kevin's face. Even though it looked identical, the magical aspect of the glasses really did its work. Kevin opened the window to his apartment and listened after where the fire might be. There, and as such he pushed himself out of the window, but he didn't fall down. Instead he glided through the airs as if he was weightless, in speeds that even the best of cameras can't catch. Kevin arrived above a burning 9-story building. A lot of people were inside. This is the biggest fire he had seen so far, and he has to act fast. Using his X-ray sight, he caught an unconscious mother with her baby laying on one of the top floors. As such, he flew through the window to that apartment. Kevin barely felt the heat from the flames. He noticed that his strength is increasing exponentially recently. Just a year ago, this kind of flames would feel kind of hot, like newly toasted bread. But now the flames barely feel any different from a normal breeze. The mother and child are trapped in the bedroom. Part of the roof had fallen down outside the door, making it impossible to open from the inside. Kevin carefully lifted the roof and carefully threw it a few steps away. He hurriedly picked up the mother and child and flew out, landing beside an ambulance. Hurry, help these two, Kevin said before flying up again. Sonny, please help my daughter and husband. They're in apartment 32, one middle-aged female shouted with hope. Shouts of Sonny, Shielder, Safeguardian, Supreme, and many different nicknames were called as people were filled with hope. No matter what they called him, this would be the day that he would show his face on live TV for the first time. shaking up the whole nation. As Kevin helped the last person to medical care from the burning building, the fireman asked him to look for more people in case there were more inside. So Kevin told them that he had already looked through the whole build and there were no more people inside. This made a lot of people relieved, except for the firemen and medical personnel. They continued working as if there were people inside. After all, they couldn't stop their work because someone said that the building is empty. Suddenly Kevin got surrounded by a lot of people with phones pointed at him, asking him lots of questions. At this state, his clothes were almost completely burnt off, his jeans were burnt to his knees looking like shorts, and his hoodie was completely gone. Kevin had a similar suit to the Hulk in a sense. Getting mentally tired after saving so many people, he just flew upwards while looking down with a smile at the people. "See ya later," he said as he flew away in a whiff. It wasn't until Kevin's third year that grave news of Tony Stark disappearing shook the world. And it was this year that Peter Parker, a freshman, started his first year in Midtown High. Kevin kept an eye out for the future Spidey. He had plans for the spider that bit Peter. After all, this world was crawling with superpowers, genetically altered, genetically mutated, non-human, superhumans that feel the need to take vengeance on the world. He wouldn't be surprised if there were aliens and even meteor freaks amongst the people. We should build a wall on the borders of Earth to keep those aliens away, and make Earth great again, so it's only reasonable that he should give his family some capabilities of their own for protection, just in case. A few months ago when he helped the cops with a big case, as the friendly neighborhood Superman of course, and was later interviewed for it. He then revealed that the S stands for Superman, and is a symbol for hope. A symbol of hope that people will stop calling me Sonny, he thought at that moment. Yes, he should have revealed his name alter ego name earlier. Sonny have stuck with people, even until now. The media uses Superman, it's his official name, but the people use Sonny, it's his pet name. "Hey Puny Parker," a tall, bulky, blonde dude shouted towards Kevin, or rather the guy walking near Kevin, as he threw a football superscript 2 at him. Peter turned to look back, and he was shocked by the brown thing that was closing in on his face. He does indeed look a bit puny, Kevin thought to himself, as he saw the football almost stand still in the air as it normally doesn't do. He moved forwards and slightly touched the ball as the world was at a standstill, before moving back to where he stood before. The ball's trajectory changed just enough for it to miss Peter's head, flying past Peter towards Kevin. Seeing this, the guy that threw it grew almost pale. Kevin beat Collins, the star athlete of Midtown High, and a senior student at that. Kevin just caught the ball as if it was nothing but a child's play, which made all the students snicker. "I did just make the Flash look like a wimp. Aren't you trying out for the team?" Kevin asked in slight annoyance. "Sorry about that." He came forward to take his ball back, but Kevin didn't let go just yet. "Do be sorry about that. Your aim sucks, and your throwing arm is weak. Instead of bullying the weaker, you should work out more," Kevin said as he pushed the ball into the Flash's chest, just hard enough to make the Flash realize a big difference in their strength. Even tough Kevin didn't know Peter on a personal level, which he kind of did since he had read his life in comics. He still got annoyed by the bullying. "Thank you for that," Peter said as he caught up to Kevin. Kevin looked down upon him. A scrawny, 1.7 m tall nerd is the best way to explain him. He looked down upon him, not because of ill intent. Instead it was because he himself stood at 1.84 meters tall just at the age of 16. "No worries, but you should start working out a little. It will do you good," Kevin said with his good intentions as he continued on his route towards his class. Kevin was a bit famous in Midtown High, as a star athlete, and someone who always has good grades. He is the dream boy of many girls. Since he had his glasses always on, he wasn't afraid of anyone connecting his face to Superman's face, even though they looked the exactly same. It wasn't until in the middle of his third year that the freshmen had their visit to one of the top universities in the States. Midtown High is a school of science and technology, after all. As such, he took a sick leave from school and silently followed the freshmen. He stayed a few blocks away and listened in with his super senses. As soon as Peter got bitten, Kevin ran inside in super speed and caught the spider, then ran outside just as quickly as he came in. The wind blew everywhere as everyone got afraid. But Kevin couldn't care any less. He took the spider and flew home in just a few seconds. Finding his dad working on the fields, he flew down. "Hi Dad," he said as soon as his dad saw Kevin, his face went pale. He shakingly pointed at Kevin and said in a fearful tone, "Alien help." "Dad, that wasn't funny the first time, nor the second, nor all the other times," Kevin said with an exasperated mood. "Shouldn't you be in school, young alien man?" his dad questioned with a serious tone. One of these days my secret identity will be out in the open because of you or Mom. Son, I also have a great secret to reveal to you. We were waiting until you're old enough to know, but now seems like a good time as any. You're adopted, he said with a serious tone. Kevin just ignored him and continued, Dad, I have something important to give you. Close your eyes for a sec, and as family number one closed his eyes, he felt his son come close and slightly touch his neck, and then he felt a sting. Ouch, why did you? As he opened his eyes, he saw a blue spider in Kevin's hands. He put his hand where the sting was while looking at that woke, radioactive-looking spider. Son, I know that my dad jokes can be overwhelming, but killing me with a poisonous spider is not how I thought you to behave, his dad said. It won't kill you, it'll make you strong and healthy. Don't worry, trust me. Then he said the words his father insisted and pleaded with him to say for the past 3 years. Bro. Lean, the combined words of bro and alien. As a broline, I'll trust you with my life, his dad answered in absolute seriousness. Before picking up his phone, pointing it at his son, say it again so I can record it at that. Kevin flew away saying, you might become a bit sick in response to your body becoming stronger. Don't worry about it, he still had to attack the rest of his family with a radioactive spider. In the last part of Kevin's 3rd year at Midtown High School of Science and Technology, a new crime fighter had started working the streets. He didn't gain as much fame as Superman had, but a lot of people recognized him in the neighborhood. This crime fighter seemed to be inspired by Superman, as he also had a hoodie on, with a black spider drawn on his back and front. He had a black robber's mask with a red spider drawn on it, blue jeans and red running shoes. He also wore black fingerless gloves. Not very smart, for a very smart guy. Kevin had changed his outfit as well, into a blue t-shirt, black cargo pants, red boots and a red cape. The cape is a must. It was considered a warrior dressing in the ancient times. Sadly, no red underwear was cited, even though it was a sign of a strong man to wear the panties on the outside. On his shirt was the traditional red S with the yellow behind it. Although he changed costumes quite often, the S was his mark of hope. Everyone had become familiar with it. Whom should I say hello? Kevin thought for himself as he was between the clouds looking down at Spider-Man fighting a few gang members with guns. Kevin had kept an eye on Spidey since he began his mission as a half-arachnid, half-human crime fighter. Peter felt his tingles tingle as a gang member shot a bullet at him from behind. He dodged with a backflip and landed on his feet with one hand on the street. Looking back, he saw one of the few men he looked up to. Superman stood in front of his previous place, with one arm raised and fist closed. Kevin held out his hand. He had caught the bullet. And just to flex a bit, he slowly opened up his hand and the bullet fell down. The thugs were all looking at him in shock. It became silent for a second before someone shouted, "Go all out," as bullets rained and poured down on Superman. Kevin just saw all the bullets moving towards him in slow motion. He could control his sense, to the point of things slowing down to his own will. Looking at the bullets, that would mangle a normal human flying towards him, he couldn't help but to remember his past life and his weaknesses. Now things are different. The small iron bullets can't even scratch an itch. As they poured down on him, he could barely feel the bullets. He saw a bullet coming towards one of his eyes, and he couldn't help but to remember a scene from a Superman movie in his previous life. As such, he allowed it to bounce off his eye. It felt nothing more than getting an eye drop. A normal police gun can shoot through 7 heads that are lined up, with 1 bullet. But in front of him, it was no different than blowing air on him. As the magazines were emptied, the sound of gun shooting lessened and it got silent once again. The gang looked in horror as their bullets did nothing but put holes in his outfit. Looking down at his clothes, Superman couldn't help but to curse the Lord of Holes Point superscript when the gang members couldn't believe their eyes. One of them proclaimed with fear, "Sonny is real." And that's when Superman lost it. His head lowered and his eyes were hidden by shadows. He said in a serious and dangerous tone, "My name is Superman." As he flew and punched everyone unconscious in super speed. Spider just stood there watching like the fanboy he is. "I'm Spider-Man, nice to meet you. Did you get bitten by a radioactive gorilla by any chance? Or even a fly?" Seeing as Superman was done, Spidey couldn't help but speak, but his alter ego confidence was gone when he tried to speak to his hero. As such, he couldn't help but to speak like a socially awkward teenager. Superman smiled at him and just flew away. And it was at that point one of the gangsters that was pretending to be unconscious sat up. Spider-Man, seeing this, couldn't help but comment, "I think I blew it. Now I'll never get his number," he said before Spidey punching the gangster to deep sleep. After webbing up all the criminals, Spider-Man looked around to see if he missed anything. He saw a bit of cloth that had fallen off Superman's shirt. So he went down to pick it up. He's going to frame it. As he stood up, he saw that one of the criminals that he had webbed up had woken from his sleep, looking weirdly at Spidey as he picked up the cloth. I won't smell it or anything. Keep this a secret, Spider-Man said before webbing away. Kevin flew to his parents' home in Branchville, where he found Elena and Tyler fighting with spider powers. What are you doing? He asked them as he landed gracefully beside them. We're deciding on who is the elder twin, Tyler said without looking at him. Humph, only weaklings needs to use speech. I'll talk with my fist, Elena answered. Maybe giving them powers wasn't a good idea. He looked up to the roof of the barn and saw his dad waving at him, before jumping down 5 meters from the roof. Definitely not a good idea. These people don't know how to be discreet. Yo super son, what's up my greenie dad, please? That's not appropriate. Who is the elder twin now? Elena shouted sinisterly and laughed as she sat on Tyler's back and held his arm, almost breaking it. Elena, be kind to your brother, his dad told her as he came and hugged Kevin. Family is family, even if family is weirder than the fact that I'm alien. Kevin thought. Where's Mom? He asked his dad. She's making muffins. You usually visit whenever your clothes are destroyed, so she was expecting you as they are talking about you in the news. Papa Bear answered. I see, let's go inside then. He started walking to the house as his beaming dad, sulking brother and grinning sister followed. Hi Kevin, do you want to team up for our biology assignment? 2 cute classmates came up to Kevin and asked in a friendly manner. Kevin understood that crime doesn't take a break, so neither can he. Sorry, I'm returning home to my parents today, and will be back late. You'll have to find someone else to team up with, Kevin answered in kind. He also understood that their intention wasn't just to study, but to become closer to him. But to them, he was just a popular, tall, good-looking athlete with a good future. If that was all he was, he wouldn't mind getting closer to them. Sadly, most of that was a fraud, a scam, an act. He's far from just the popular guy at school. He is someone who will carry the world on his shoulders. These girls aren't ready for something like that. Even if they thought they were, they weren't. Maybe next time, the other of the two answered before the two made their ways. It's nearing the end of his time in Midtown High School. So more and more girls are approaching him to study. But he rarely interacts with more people than necessary. He has few friends, but lately him and Peter started to become friends after Kevin initially saved Peter from Flash. They have lots in common, neither want to plan things after school hours, which made them click. All is fine and dandy during school hours, but please don't ask me if I'm up to something after school. That's the underlining philosophy that made their friendship work. Kevin continued to his locker, but suddenly he stopped. Suddenly turning his head to the side as he listened. As if he had heard something horrendous, he hurried to the bathroom. He almost ran. Kevin hurried past many that tried to talk to him, but he didn't notice them. Kevin, did you? As Peter saw Kevin walk by, he wanted to start a conversation, but Kevin didn't seem to hear him, so Peter stopped mid-sentence. Before Peter could even think of his encounter with Kevin, he felt goosebumps all over his body. His spider senses began screaming at him that something dangerous is about to happen. Peter turned around and hurried to find an unused classroom so he could sneak out through a window. In a secret basement of a Stark mansion, a man in his mid-20s stood looking at his masterpiece. Suddenly a robotic voice that sounded almost alive spoke, Sir, Bruce Banner have been found. The military has already engaged him, and he turned into the Hulk. They are in combat and nearing New York at this moment. Thanks Jarvis, ready the suit, the man said. After his kidnapping, he had changed. He is no longer a simple rich playboy. No, he realized that he needed to become someone that can change the world for the better. Looking at his suit, he suddenly saw his own face. He almost looked unrecognizable to himself, not because he looked different, but because he felt different. Tony Stark, he whispered the name that no longer felt like his own. He came home a few months ago, and started working on his masterpiece, his iron armor. Recently it had completed all tests. He was only waiting for the time to take it to the sky. Bruce Banner, someone I considered close to my own plane of intelligence, was in an accident 2 months ago and became the monster he is today. Tony spoke as if to remind himself of the matters at hand. 2 months ago there was an explosion that shocked half of the state. People at that time thought it was an earthquake. Later the population was informed that a nuclear power plant had gone off, but no one was harmed. Only a few knew the real story. That was the birth of a green monstrosity. The leading scientist, one of the brilliant minds of modern times, tried to create something greater, stronger, superior to the super soldier serum using nuclear energy and radioactivity. But an accident happened, and that accident is now rampaging outside of New York. Dr. Banner was hiding in a low-populated small town. Few people were harmed as most people were escorted by the military before they engaged the Hulk. Jarvis informed Tony without him even needing to ask. Tony stepped forward to put on his iron armor. "It's time to fly," he said. Kevin took off his t-shirt that he wore and put on his yellow hoodie all in super speed. He didn't have time to change into another suit, because if his heading isn't failing him, disaster is striking. He ran out of the school at super speed, then flew up towards the roof of the school. He put his glasses in his backpack where the rest of his things were and dropped it on the roof. Superman flew higher and higher, and reaching supersonic speed he flew towards where disaster was. Even so far away he could see what was happening. The Hulk, standing at 3 meters tall, bulking with green muscles, ripping off the body parts of soldiers trying to engage him. Superman winced slightly as he saw this. The soldiers were only following orders, and they couldn't harm the Hulk, yet in his furious, mad state he was destroying everything and everyone. Superman saw that half a town was destroyed. Luckily not many people were killed. Most seemed to have escaped. Super felt somber as he saw this. The town was not much different from Branchville. Suddenly Superman increased his speed as he saw that Hulk found a family of 3 hiding beside a container. Hulk not only turned towards them, he started running towards them in a frenzy. The father is holding his wife and child, all 3 of them quivering in fear. The military increased their aggression in hopes of the Hulk ignoring the family, and Hulk's anger did increase, but unfortunately, it was misplaced. As Superman saw all this as he was flying towards the scene, he understood something. The Hulk's actions were downplayed in the movies and comics. Bruce hated himself, and rightly so. The Hulk suddenly stopped looking upwards, which also made the military stop. Everyone heard a sonic boom, and saw a yellow flash before Hulk disappeared. Everyone is looking around, trying to locate him. "We've lost Hulk's location," a commander shouted at his communicator. As he was going to repeat it, his fellow soldier just put his hand on his shoulder, motioning him to look towards a hill a few hundred meters away. Half of the upper part of that hill had exploded, and on top of what was left of that hill, the Hulk was in a dogfight with a yellow hooded man with a red S on the front and back. "Superman," one of the soldiers whispered, creating a chain reaction. All the other soldiers started shouting in relief. The family of 3 were crying in both relief and joy that they miraculously survived. As Superman took Hulk into the hill with great momentum, he felt that the Hulk should be somewhat affected by this. But before he could engage the thought even further, he felt a big hand holding the back of his head. Hulk had picked him up by the head and got out of the rubble. And the next thing Kevin felt was his head whipping to different locations as the Hulk kept punching his face. Superman tried to get out, but the size difference made it hard for him to maneuver as he wanted. The punches he took felt like the punches of a 9-year-old. But the force behind them was still great, making rubbles fly about, and his head getting whipped around. Superman put his hands on the Hulk's thumb and little finger of the hand that was holding the top of his head, and pushed away the green hand that held him in place. Then he started punching back, each punch harder than the former. Dozens, if not hundreds of punches later, Superman started to feel the stress of not finishing the fight early. Why isn't it affecting him? Superman started to get nervous. No matter how many times he punches, the Hulk just takes it. They had left nothing but destruction in their path. Superman was hitting hard enough for earthquakes to form. Each of his punches were felt all the way to New York as small vibrations. And all the windows in this small town had been destroyed by the force of his punches. Superman looked down, breathing heavily. The Hulk had been punched under the rubble. That should have done it. I've never pushed this hard before, Superman thought. But the rubble beneath his feet started shaking as a furious roar shook the town. The military had escaped the town because the after effects of Superman's and Hulk's fight could harm, if not kill them. Hulk climbed out of the rubble. He looked angrier than ever. He didn't wait for Superman to react, instead attacked him. After getting punched, Superman felt the world spin for a second. Hulk's punches had grown stronger. Superman started getting nervous for real this time. If he can't stop Hulk, then the whole of New York might disappear before nightfall. Superman caught the Hulk's fist and was about to counter, when suddenly dozens of missiles were sent towards the Hulk. Both ignored them as they flew closer. What can a few missiles do? As the missiles flew in the face of Hulk and exploded, Both Superman and Hulk flew apart from the explosion. Hulk stood up in confusion before anger overtook him. He had eaten many missiles 10 times bigger than these, but none as powerful. Even though Superman had never dealt with such explosives before, even he felt surprised at the power of those small things. Both Hulk and Superman looked up and saw a red and golden robot flying towards them. It stopped a few meters above them before a robotic voice came from it. "I'll support you. Make sure to push him east from here." Superman understood, and suddenly flew towards the Hulk, catching him by the waist and flying him east at super speeds. He couldn't do this before, as Hulk was vigilant against him, but the support that arrived took away from Hulk's attention. But this was no easy feat, as Hulk pounded at Superman's back while they flew east, away from the cities and New York. Suddenly Superman released Hulk from his arms and came to a sudden stop. Hulk continued to fly at extreme speed and landed harshly while chasing against earth and trees. Before Superman could resume his fight, a big explosion happened where the Hulk crashed. Superman looked at the robot that stopped mid-air beside him. "Who are you?" Superman asked, even though he knew. "I'm Iron Man." Before either of the two could continue, a tree came flying towards them. Both dodged easily, but missed the fact that Hulk jumped towards Superman, catching him while falling and slamming him to the ground. A great crater was created, and even Iron Man flew high enough to not get caught by the Hulk while trying to support Superman. But Iron Man had to stop for a second as he saw the crater from above. It was a kilometer in diameter. Hulk had become angrier than ever, and he wanted to smash those who stood in his way. He jumped down to the crater and smashed down on the person inside it. Superman laid there, feeling his senses dull, taking punches that really hurt. He felt like his body was made of lead. Every part of his body is cracking, as if the Hulk was just a second from breaking him. It is only now that he realized that Hulk's strength grew with his anger, while his own strength had barely reached the threshold of his potential, as he was only 16 years old. Clark Kent only became as strong as he was when he became an adult. At this realization, he felt slight despair. But suddenly a blue beam of light shone up the whole area as a light beam reached the Hulk, pushing him hundreds of meters. Superman stood up shaking, and flew up from the crater before landing weakly beside Iron Man, who also landed. "That was my fully loaded repulsor beam. It took a lot of energy and my batteries are low," Iron Man informed. "It should have done the job," he continued, but Superman was still as serious as ever. "If you're low on juice, you should get away from here," because he looks more pissed than ever. Superman spoke as the Hulk walked out of his own crater. He had burn marks from his shoulder to his upper stomach, but he seemed totally unharmed. Pissed nonetheless. Suddenly all of them turned in the same direction as they heard a loud motorbike driving at fast speeds towards the Hulk. On it was a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that jumped away, making the bike drive into the Hulk, doing absolutely nothing. The Hulk smirked, looking at Spider-Man while holding the motorcycle. "Sometimes you have to wait patiently to get the sweetest reward," Spider-Man quoted from the internet as he backed off. Suddenly the bike exploded, making the Hulk fly away. Both Superman and Iron Man looked at Spider-Man as if asking him what was going on. "I was late to the party as everyone had moved away from the town as I arrived there. So I borrowed this bike and some of the military explosives they left behind as a gift to the party host," he said as he pointed in the direction Hulk flew away in. "Who are you supposed to be, Captain Tin?" he asked Iron Man. Spider asked, not understanding the gravity of the situation. Hulk had become furious to the point of madness as he jumped at Iron Man, who had finally landed. It was too fast for Iron Man to react. But Superman, who stood near him, saw it coming, so he pushed Iron Man away, getting caught by the Hulk instead. Hulk in his madness took a great leap with Superman's head in his hand. Superman tried to resist, but Hulk's strength had reached new heights and it was hard for him to get free. Hulk smashed down Superman as they landed far away from the other two. Hulk continued to smash Superman until he heard a helicopter near them. Looking up, he saw that they had been followed by multiple helicopters from far away, and now one had gotten too close. Hulk felt like these annoyances won't stop disturbing him. He felt his anger bubble once again. Superman laid under one of Hulk's feet. Looking up, he also saw one of the media news helicopters getting too close, gaining the attention of Hulk. Seeing the body language of Hulk, he realized that Hulk was about to pounce the helicopter, killing more innocents. Just as Hulk was about to take a leap, Superman found the strength to clutch Hulk's leg, and he threw himself from the ground and flew straight up while dragging Hulk by his leg. Hulk lost his momentum and was flying higher and higher as his leg was dragged up to the sky by Superman. It was hard for him to resist while being upside down and having one of his legs clasped. Superman flew as high as he could. He felt the air thin and the surroundings becoming colder. The sun rays started getting stronger as the atmosphere got weaker. As he felt gravity lose its strength, he finally looked down. For an instant the world seemed to stop, as he saw the beautiful Earth. Even though they hadn't reached space yet, they were far enough to see the roundness of the blue planet. Superman couldn't get lost in thought too long, as Hulk kicked him with his free leg, shooting Superman away from Hulk. As Superman found his stability, he looked at Hulk's that started to gain speed as he fell towards Earth. As such, Superman flew at superspeed once again, catching Hulk mid-air, continuing Hulk's descent at even faster speeds and momentum. TV channels throughout the world showed almost all the same thing, but translated into different languages. The news all around the globe narrated almost the same story. At first there was a town being destroyed by a green humanoid beast. Then Superman came in and saved the remains of the town. People from all kinds of walks found their hopes rise and fall as they saw Superman beating the Hulk, but then Hulk gaining the upper hand. Fortunately, Superman received backup by new heroes that came into light on this disastrous day. Most people on Earth had never seen disasters on this scale before. It was a sight that changed their world views. In the end, Hulk had gotten away with Superman and pummeled him to the ground. And just as they lost all hope, Superman took Hulk to the skies. And they lost all sights of them. During the few minutes that Hulk and Superman were gone, the media outlets were going frantic, trying to explain what was going on and trying to find sight of Superman once again. Suddenly, people on the eastern continent saw a gigantic flame burst through the sky in great ferocity, scaring them senseless once again. Superman continued to increase the momentum as the fell, but Hulk kept fighting him. In the end, Superman felt that he was losing his strength and grip, so in a last burst of power he pushed Hulk's trajectory towards an unhabituated place. That was the last thing he remembered before losing consciousness. Most people saw the flames burst into two before crashing into Mother Earth, which shook big parts of Asia. Kevin felt his whole body weak. He hated this feeling, the same weakness he felt in his previous life. He was dirty, his clothes were totally destroyed in the fight, and what was left of it was burnt off. Laying in a crater, he slowly turned his face upwards, looking at the sky and clouds. It felt peaceful, as if everything that happened was just a dream, but the pain of his body protested. Suddenly feeling the rays of the sun on his face as the clouds split, he felt a little better. He could hear people in helicopters and searching teams speaking in foreign but excited voices. Probably Mandarin. They were nearing the vicinity, probably searching for him, but they were still far enough for him not to care. As he caught his breath, Kevin tried lifting himself up, but that's when he noticed that his arms were totally bent in the wrong direction. During the fall, Hulk had caught his arms in rage and broken them with a furious strength. Because of the adrenaline, I didn't even notice. That's probably why I instinctively kicked Hulk away instead of using my fist. Kevin thought back to his last moments of his illusionary fight. He had never pushed himself like this before. And he was just as much in mental turmoil as he was in a physical. He tried standing once again, and he finally succeeded to barely stand up. As he took a few steps, he fell down again. But his energy was returning as the sun touched his bare skin, albeit slowly. He tried to once again stand, and this time he succeeded in flying up a few meters before falling once again. Kevin almost felt tears come to his eyes. He hated this feeling. He doesn't even know what happened to the Hulk. Did Earth survive this disaster, or did Hulk continue his craze? He felt his own strong feeling fuel his muscles as he pushed himself with great power from the soil beneath his feet. This time pushing him dozens of meters up to the sky as a kickstarter for his flight. With the speed, it was easier for him to fly higher and higher, faster and faster. In the end, he reached supersonic speeds. Finally getting that feeling of the air, thinking once again. But this time he didn't stop, he continued. The further up he went, the stronger the sun rays became. The atmosphere filtered out the strong and harmful rays for the weak carbon-based humans that walked the Earth. But here, in the dark, cold space, the rays from the sun were unadulterated. They were strong, and filled with light and heat energy. Superman could almost feel his skin clash against, and absorb the photons of light rays. The further into space he went, the stronger the effect became. He finally felt calm and peaceful. In the silent space, there were no worries, no Hulk, no responsibilities. As his mind relaxed, his body followed suit and fell into deep sleep. As everyone sat in front of a screen and saw the conclusion of the fight, or rather the lack of, they worried greatly. Did Hulk get defeated, stopped in his tracks? Or would he continue his menace? What happened to Superman? Could he even survive something like this? They had seen him fly, move at super speed, catch bullets and stay inside a burning building. But they had never seen him on this scale before. Everybody worried about themselves, the world, or for Superman, the hero. But on a farm in Branchville, a small town outside of New York, a family of 4 sat and looked intently at the TV. With mixed emotions of grief, despair, anxiety, and frustration. The Collins family didn't worry about Superman, they worried about Kevin. Their son, their brother, their family. As the fight broke out, the whole family hurried together to find comfort in each other. They had never seen Kevin physically hurt before, never seen him bleed. As they waited and made calls to find any information about Kevin, they grew in worry as there was none. And with time, the world started to worry more and more about Superman. One night turned to 2 days, and 2 days turned to 1 week, and there was still no sight of Superman. The only good news was that there was no sight of the Hulk either. The Collins felt grave grief, believing that they lost Kevin, but still hoping for a miracle. This world-shaking event took place in a less populated area, but it still affected most humanity. Floating in deep space, Kevin opened his eyes, and what he saw shocked him. In front of him was a source of light so great in size that it can't be imagined. The star that warmed up Earth. The star that gave energy for the plants to grow. The star that kept the Earth in its orbit. The sun, it was so much greater than he had ever imagined, and he was looking straight at it. He turned his body to see the full glory of the expansive universe, before finally setting his sights on a blue planet with a small moon orbiting it. It looked as if he was a long way from it. Kevin looked down at his body, and found it to be speck-free. All the soil, dirt and filth had been burnt off. Feeling great and stronger than ever, he started his flight back to Earth. He found his flight way easier and faster in space, as there was no friction nor gravity to slow him down. His acceleration increased instantly. Flying at great speeds, he was once again shocked by the fact that no matter how fast he went, the Earth seemed to be as distant as before. As he looked back, he saw the sun. It hadn't gotten any further from him, or so it seemed. It meant that the distances between him and the celestial bodies were further than he initially believed. So he picked up speed and once again flew towards Earth. Kevin flew for what felt like an hour or two, but he wasn't so sure, as he couldn't tell time in space. When he neared the Earth, he stopped to take in the beauty of it, before continuing in great speeds towards the home of his parents in Branchville. When he landed in his fields, he noticed a bus closing in on their street before stopping and dropping off Elena and Tyler. They looked somber, Kevin noticed. As they walked in silence towards their home, Elena suddenly stopped. Tyler also stopped, noticing that his sister was not moving forward, looking at her in askance. But before he could speak his mind, she dropped her backpack and ran all she had towards Kevin. Tyler, looking towards where she was going, was also stunned when he noticed who stood there. He also dropped his backpack and ran as fast as he could towards his dead, but now alive brother. Both Elena and Tyler pounced at Kevin, hugging him and crying, "You're alive, and we thought you died." Kevin hugged them in shock. He had thought that he was gone for a few hours, maybe a day at most. But he might have been wrong about that, it seems. Elena and Tyler cried and whimpered in his embrace, and Kevin felt tears creep their way to his eyes. Kevin's parents noticed the commotion and went outside, and as soon as they saw Kevin, they also hurried to him. All of them, capable of running at great speeds, because of their Spider-Man abilities. After a tearful reunion, Kevin was told how long he was gone, for which he wasn't expecting. His mother continuously touched him to see if he was real or to see if he was harmed. Kevin decided to stay the night at his parents'. And before he could go to bed, his parents came to his room to have a talk. Kevin's father spoke seriously but carefully. "Kevin, your mom and I feel that after the last confrontation you had, maybe it's time for you to retire your yellow hoodie. We aren't saying this lightly, as we know that you..." But Kevin spoke before he could finish. "Actually, I agree," Kevin said, interrupting his father. Confusing his parents, as they knew how much this meant for him, to be a source of goodness in the world. "As I was getting punched, by fists that actually hurt, I felt afraid that if I continue, I might not see you guys again." Before his parents could say anything in response to that, he continued. "And if I failed in stopping the Hulk, the amount of harm damage he would cause. I can't even imagine it." I don't think I am ready for such a responsibility. I can't bear the weight of knowing something like that. Should I fail, lots of people will come to harm. Kevin then looked straight at his parents' face and said with determination. But then I realized in that moment that if I die, then you guys might die after me. But if I do nothing, you'll still die, except that the risk will be greater because I'm not there to stop it. In that case, it's better for me to die trying than to cower and lose it all. And if I can't stop someone, then no one else on Earth can. So I might as well try, he said with conviction. I need to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders so that people can live for another day. This is my calling, this is my destiny. He said with a tone that told his parents that no matter what they said, he wouldn't change his mind. That's why I'll retire the hoodie and wear something properly to be recognized at first instance as a symbol of hope. They hugged him and his mother cried. This isn't just a burden on Kevin, but also on his parents, as they'll have to watch their son fight and be harmed so others can be safe. His mother's tears are tears of resignation and sorrow, but her hug is one of acceptance and placing her trust in him. Tyler and Elena were outside his room. Even though this was a private conversation, it is something that will impact their whole family, so they listened in. Both of them are going through their own set of emotions. Could I do it? Could I walk the same path as him? By his side, Elena thought for herself. Will it work this time? Tony asked. Theoretically, yes. Practically, probably, Jarvis answered. The amount of my vibranium reserves is decreasing too much for my liking. Try it at 67.88889%. Tony spoke thoughtfully. 12 minutes remaining. Sir, on another note, you've got a guest. Jarvis spoke casually. An uninvited one. Don't let them know we're home, Jarvis. Tony said, uncaring for who came to visit him. 11 minutes, 13 seconds remaining, sir. On another note, the guest spoke to your door telling me he knows we're home. Speaking to you directly? Is it Rhodes again? Only close friends know about you. Just ignore him. Tony would rather continue to work on his new iron suit than listen to his friends nagging. He had realized that his suit lacked in many areas in his last fight. Surely, sir, just one problem. Enough, we've got more important things to consider now. Tony put no importance on his guest. Yes, sir. Jarvis finished, but it didn't even take 2 seconds before alarms went off as the house shook slightly. The house went into automatic lockdown for protection. What's going on, Jarvis? Tony half shouted in frustration as he hurried to his Iron Man suit in case of an enemy aggression. Superman told me that he would take down the door if you didn't answer. He has something important to speak to you about. Sir. Jarvis said normally as if it was obvious. Tony stopped. Is Superman the guest you spoke of? The tone sounded almost angry now. Yes, sir. Why didn't you tell and cancel the lockdown? Tony said, annoyed. I did try to tell you, sir. Jarvis was ignored by Tony as he walked out of the basement lab to meet his guest. Superman found Tony's and Jarvis' quarrel quite funny, but sadly he didn't have all the time in the world to wait for Tony to realize who his guest is. So he simply opened the locked door. The door sat quite good, as the whole building shook before the door opened. Might have broken slightly. Superman stepped inside and waited for Tony as he heard him coming up. How did you know my identity? No, I should have figured it out. Is it super sight or super smell? Tony answered himself as if waiting for Superman to speak was a waste of time. He went to pour himself a glass of soda drink. Superman ignored his question and instead asked for a favor. I need your help with something, Superman said with some ambiguity, to see where Tony stands on being a good teammate. You come to my home, break my door, break into my house, and then ask for a favor? Think of it as payback for saving you last time, Superman answered as if ready for his questioning. No, I won't think of it like that. And you didn't save me. I would have made it out by myself, Tony said as if it was a fact. Quite the opposite, sir. According to the data, you would have been fatally harmed, Jarvis said. Jarvis, please remind me later to create a new, better AI system to replace you with. Yes, sir. I'll set a reminder alarm on the February 29th. I didn't ask you to save me from being slapped by our green friend with anger issues. You did that on your own. So what do you want? 6 minutes and 32 seconds remaining, sir. And I didn't ask you to come help me against the Hulk, but you did. Which tells me there is a good guy somewhere inside your iron heart. Superman said, looking at the light source on Tony's chest. And what's your point? Tony said, not liking the fact that his good intentions were put on the table like that. For him, Being unselfish is something new, but that doesn't mean others have to be aware of it. His comfort zone is that people think of him as a selfish, rich playboy. That way he won't fail others' expectations of him, and can live up to the low expectations that others have of him. My point is that we might have to fight side by side again in the future, so we should help each other so something like that doesn't happen again, Superman said. You've got some misgivings, Superman. I'm not like you. I grow and learn from my experiences. I won't be as helplessly hopeless next time, and I'll make sure of it in exactly. He stopped there as Jarvis continued, 3 minutes and 49 seconds remaining, sir. You heard him, so you can get out now. We won't partner up in the future. You do you, I do all the beautiful women lining up to do me. Tony said with his casual self-assuredness. Tony, Hulk was growing stronger by the second. We got lucky the fight didn't last longer. We won't be able to, Superman was cut off. Then I'll finish him fast. And I'm growing better as well. Enough, I'm done with this. Tony said, slightly angry. Superman turned to leave, and as he left he said to Tony, you're too arrogant for your own good. And you're too naive for your own good, Tony responded. As Superman disappeared into the sky, Jarvis said, I think you made a new friend today, sir. Where's your power off button? I think I should have a friend less, Tony said. 1 minute 24 seconds left before the new alloy for your suit is done, sir. If this works, I'll have a suit that's almost as hard as Captain's shield, and be very effective at absorbing energies. Tony was lost in thought. Well, there goes all my ideas. How should I get a good suit now then? Kevin wondered. His plans were to make friends with Tony and ask him for his help developing a new suit. But this Tony is still young in his career. Tony was very self-centered and arrogant in his early Iron Man career. But in the movies, he grew to be a great leader who knew how to invest in others, and understood the importance of it. But this maturity only came after challenges. At least he's right about that. He does grow after a failure. There will come a time when he will fail because he only had 2 hands to handle a crisis that needed 4. At that time, hopefully he'll grow as well. Kevin thought as he flew through the sky in speed similar to a plane, just enjoying the freedom of the skies. He stretched his arms out and spread his fingers, enjoying the powerful wind that flows through his fingers as he flies through the blue up there. You've grown bigger, Superman, Jamie stated while looking at his shoulders, chest, and legs. Kevin would have been grossed out if this wasn't Jamie, a man he had saved almost a year ago. Jamie was a fashion designer that owned his own popular chain store. Even though it isn't a worldwide chain, it's quite popular in New York. Jamie looked at Superman and measured his sizes with his eyes. Next stock will have to be adjusted, Jamie said. Thanks, Jamie, Superman said. After he had saved Jamie last year, Jamie had offered to help fashion his suits, Jamie called it. Since then he gets a few pieces of suits every month. He saves lots of people from lots of situations, but sadly his suits are always destroyed. He picked up the big cardboard with his new Superman suits and flew to his apartment he had stayed in since Ha was 14 years old. After he had finished high school, he didn't go to college. Instead, he searched for a job as an editor. Ideally, editors have to have higher education such as English literature, history, communication, or journalism. But unfortunately, or rather quite fortunately, there was a big fat lack of editors in the industries. So he got many offers for interviews. But the place he really wanted was a reputable place called Red. They signed many popular writers and treated their workers well. At first they denied him, but he asked for a chance to prove himself. The manager gave him a USB saying, "We have a new editor for this book here," he said, giving him the USB. "The new editor started on this yesterday. The first of you who turns in the finished product gets the job. Of course there can't be any flaws as I won't accept any bad editing," the manager said. He himself just wanted to let down the youth kindly. Editing isn't an easy job. It can take weeks of arduous reading and editing. After signing a few papers, Kevin went home and finished everything in 5 minutes, but he waited for a week before giving the USB back. The manager was very shocked at the speed. Even though it wasn't the whole book, only a fourth of it. But even that usually takes a few weeks. The manager had read through it and found the editing to be spotless, so he gave Kevin a job as an editor. And a few weeks after that, Kevin came to the manager asking to sign his own book. The manager was shocked by this again. But as the manager had seen Kevin's abilities that were of the highest level, he gave him a chance and read the demo of his new book called Lord of the Rings. After that, Kevin gained another secret identity, an author that goes by the alias CK. He still did some editing. while releasing many famous books on the side. Of course, the books he released were the most liked books of his former life. He himself was saved by these books back then when he was trapped in a sick body. Thinking back to his journey to becoming a world-renowned author, Kevin chuckled at the fact that he has another secret identity. Readers even called him C.K. Rowling, because he was a rolling stone that dropped a great book after another. Thinking back to when he had fought the Hulks, he was relieved that Bruce Banner had disappeared into thin air. There was no sight of him in the last 1.5 years that had flashed by. Kevin landed outside of his parents' house. As he stepped in, he found his parents sitting by the dining table, staring intently at each other, even ignoring the fact that Kevin was back. "Mom, Dad, I'm back. Is there anything to eat?" No response. Suddenly his father said, "Mama Bear, aren't I right about this?" "Absolutely right. But we can't turn back time. Also, we can't change his ethnicity." His mother responded quite seriously. It seemed as if they had a big discussion about something important. "Sigh, how regrettable. If only he looked Asian. We could have named him Ai Leon," his father spoke tiredly. "Yes, since we wouldn't have known what kind of Asian he would have been, we would have gone with a Japanese first name, a Chinese second name, and a Korean third name. Ai Leon." His mother spoke as if understanding the great logic of her beloved husband. Neither of those two even noticed their beloved son stepping in, because their love for anything alien seemed to surpass all else. Kevin suddenly understood the situation, just turned around, and flew back to his apartment. Why did my parents have to be such alien fanatics? Since they revealed their real identities as such, they've gotten weirder and weirder. As he flew back towards his apartment, he remembered some worrying news that trended all over the internet since 2 days back. Some tourists had walked the Great Canyon and found a big hammer there. They tried to pick it up, but it was stuck. So they filmed it on YouTube, and it received attention, and more people went there to see the hammer. It suddenly became a challenge to move it, and people tried all methods, and 2 days ago the news started trending. This was very worrying for Superman, as he realized something important in his fight against the Hulk. Hulk was way stronger than his movie part. If other heroes of Marvel are the same as him, then Thor will also have much greater strength. And wherever these guys go, disaster follows. Hulk and Thor were two of the strongest beings in the Marvel Universe. Luckily, his own abilities had grown exponentially. It seemed as if the more he reached adulthood, the greater strength he gained. He himself didn't know his own limits. He had tried many things, including taking a hot bath in the plasma of the sun. It didn't do anything to him. Superman changed his trajectory and flew towards the canyon. He had to make sure that this wasn't some big coincidence or misunderstanding. As Superman appeared above the canyon, he found many campers surrounding a specific place. Looking towards the center, he found a war hammer, with very subtle markings on it. The handle was 1/2 meter, and the hammer head was brutally square. Its edges looked sharp. Kevin noticed. Superman felt that this was a bad sign. As he floated above the clouds using his super sight, he saw the people barbecue and enjoying camping as they found a fun challenge. How peaceful, sadly. Had they known about this, they would have all ran away from this location. The further the better. He was about to fly away when he noticed the sound of many cars. He looked towards them and noticed that there were highly trained men in all black. The 15 cars were speeding towards the hammer. Superman took a last look at the hammer before he flew away. He would like to try to lift the hammer, but he doesn't want to get spotted not to be able to lift this hammer. It would only make this location more trendy. The less people came to this place, the better. Kevin was super writing a new book, The Da Vinci Code, to release while listening to the news on the radio. Yes, he had gotten himself a radio so that he can passively listen to news. And now our reporter has gained new information about the intoxicated man that the police apprehended yesterday. One voice said before the next voice took over. This is Lois Margaret speaking from the Grand Canyon Village. The blonde man that was apprehended yesterday was sent to the psychiatric hospital for care. A lot of witnesses saw the commotion that was created yesterday, causing a fist fight to break out. I found a witness from yesterday. What's your name? I'm Karen, the witness said. Can you tell everyone of what you saw yesterday? It was mayhem I tell ya. The blonde hunk frantically demanded for someone to show him the way to a rainbow, then claimed to be a prince of some ass garden. All the hot men are gays nowadays, I tell ya, but it's fine. I've got my Superman pillow at home. Sups, if you hear this, you can always have me anytime, anyplace. Ehem, please continue with what happened. The interviewer tried bringing the witness back to reality. Right. Someone tried calming him down by patting him on the back, but he didn't like that, I tell ya. Pushed him 3 meters up to the sky. He said, "How dare you touch a prince of Asgarden? I've been thinking it's a strip club exclusive for the men, I tell ya. But I'd still go there to see him. Ehem, please continue." Right. Then after the hunk pushed away the man that patted him, his friends attacked the hunk. Before I knee it the everybody be fightin', I tell ya I was just waitin' for my darlin' Superman to take me away from this mayhem, I tell ya. The police got there. But the hunk wouldn't listen to common sense. Everybody that saw it knee it, the hunk's been doing the good stuff, I tell ya. And there you have it, folks. According to the police, the hunk. Ehem. The blonde man that started the fight broke 13 noses and sent 20 people to the hospital. After a careful analysis, the man was found to be clinically insane. We still don't know his identity and are still searching for the club. Asgarden, if any of you know anything, please call the police. Kevin pondered about this. It should be Thor, shouldn't it? Why does he sound so weak? Is he holding back, or was he stripper? Ehem stripped of his powers before he was sent to Earth. Kevin thought while having an ominous gut feeling about all this. He super changed his clothes and then took to the skies through his open window. I must see him for myself, Kevin thought as he flew towards the canyon. He could arrive there in less than a second, but he enjoyed flying through the sky and seeing everything below it. A few minutes later he was back above the canyon, but this time the location surrounding the hammer has been made a military base. Superman saw scientists, soldiers and agents working hard, each in their own field. Should I warn them to be careful and not make the Asgardians angry? Kevin pondered for a minute before turning his head to the nearest town, the Grand Canyon Village. As he took flight there, he found that there was 2 hospitals in this town, so he searched them with his X-ray vision and super hearing to find the man he suspected to be an Asgardian prince. But he was in neither hospitals. In fact, one of the hospitals was in chaos as they had someone escape the psychiatric ward. So Superman closed his eyes and started to listen, hoping to hear something of value. "Stephen, how could you do this to me? We have a child together." Ha ha ha. And then he got slapped and everybody was just shocked to their cores. Ha. "So you've lost the files. Don't you know how important they are for our business? You're fired." Ahaha hardera. "Mommy, why I want my mommy." And here Superman stopped for a second and continued to listen. "Child, stop crying, I told you and know your mommy. Just be silent and I'll take you to her. Don't draw attention to us," a creepy voice said. "BB, but mommy said I shouldn't follow anyone I don't know." Wawawa. Superman flew to their location, but what he saw shocked him. A man was dragging a little girl by her arms in a place with no people. He was taking her to a dark valley, and just as Superman was going to act, a young woman, about 20 years old, walked by them and accidentally walked into the man, making him fall towards the ground. But Superman saw it. That wasn't an accident, this woman had done that on purpose. "I should get down there before anything dangerous happens," Kevin thought, but before he acted he was shocked again. The woman took a step forward, standing between the little girl and the man that had fallen. She bent down to help him, but instead of any kindness, 2 claws went through his throat and mouth, making him unable to speak or make a sound. "Oh, you feel tired and want to sleep? That fine. I'll take care of the little girl. You can sleep here, no worries," the black-haired woman said in a kind tone as to not scare the young child. All this happened while the girl only saw the back of the woman, so she couldn't see what was happening. Her claws retracted into her knuckles after they had done their purpose as she turned towards the little girl. "Don't worry, I'll take you to the police so they can find your mother," she said to the little girl as she turned the girl away from the dead body behind them. "Big sis, what about the strange man?" the little girl said, still tearful. "He was a little sleepy, so he took a nap. Don't worry about him." Okay, Superman was still above the clouds looking at this, not sure what to feel. This is karma. Death is inevitable. This world isn't a movie for children. This is real life, and the darkness of this world is even deeper than oceans. I will also need to kill. This is inevitable. Superman realized as he sighed. The sky was quite dark by this time. He thought of turning home, but as always, things don't go as planned. He heard a great explosion on the edge of this town. And he didn't like what he heard. He arrived at where a building was destroyed. A blonde, big-muscled man laid bloody on the street. The place was surrounded by blue-gray-skinned giants, 3 meters tall. One of them stood above Thor with his feet pushing down on Thor's back. Superman instantly acted, using the ability he mastered 8 months back. His eyes became boiling red as 2 great lasers instantly reached the head of the frost giant standing on Thor's back. His head exploded as if it was a watermelon, except for the fact that his blood was purple. The other giants instantly got ready for war and readied their weapons. As soon as the blue giants spotted Superman, they attacked him. They are about half as strong as Spider-Man, Kevin thought as he simply dodged them. After a few seconds of gauging their abilities, he flashed to the closest one, giving him a light slap, making the said giant's head bend, in such a way that heads don't bend. He flashed to another one, giving him a light punch to the stomach, making him fly straight up like a cannon, penetrating the atmosphere. Kevin looked up to see the blue man fly to the sky. Why didn't his body explode in gore? Kevin thought, even though the giant had died by the force of his punch, his body didn't explode. Instead it flew into space like a bullet. The other giants had stopped in their tracks, finally showing fear on their face, but there was also ferocity. They looked around as if finding something to help them from their situation. That's when they noticed the civilians inside the buildings. They turned towards them, ready to pounce through their windows, attacking the civilians. Superman saw this, and he simply shot laser beams through their heads, killing dozens of them instantly. There was only one frost giant left. He stood there looking at Superman, and then as if he found his strength, he gave a roar as he pounced on Superman with his greatest strength, giving his all towards the punching Superman. Superman just stood there waiting. And as the punch arrived on his face, it was as if the giant had hit something unmovable. His face didn't budge a millimeter. The giant's arm, on the other hand, was bent on multiple places, and the giant showed pain on his face as he retracted his arm. Superman simply raised his hand and pushed down on the giant's head until his head mashed into his spine easily, as if he was pushing down on cotton candy, effectively killing the giant. Superman would rather not kill, but the frozen giants came here as soldiers with intent to harm. He doesn't know a better way to keep the people safe than simply killing them. Kevin thought that killing others would make him feel bad, but it didn't. It felt slightly wrong, but all is fair in war and love. The commotion had led to lots of people watching from their windows, as most civilians in the streets had escaped. Superman noticed that agents and military personnel from the base in the canyon are hurrying towards this place. Seeing as Thor was just lying there unconscious, he wondered if he should save him or let the agents take care of the rest. He'll one day be an essential member of Avengers. Wait, will the Avengers still assemble? Superman sighed before picking up the dead-weight stripper Blondie and flying away, avoiding contact with the people he suspected to be S.H.I.E.L.D. My apartment is too small for 2 people. I guess I have no choice, Kevin thought as he flew to his parents' home. But they can never know that Thor is an alien. No, they might actually experiment on him, Superman realized, feeling a bit sorry for the prince. Superman took him to his parents' home and put him in a guest room. And right now he's sitting in front of his parents. Kevin. No matter what, we will always love you, but this is wrong, his mother told him in a pained voice. Mom, you're misunderstanding. Kevin, enough with the excuses. Listen to your mother, his father said. His mother continued with, Kevin, we are parents, but we aren't out of date. We know the real identity of the so-called friend you brought home, she said with total understanding of the situation. You do? Kevin was shocked. Maybe him being an alien had made them realize that the cosmos is so much more than humans originally believed it to be. So his parents realized that Thor is the true mythological Asgardian prince just by the few hints on the news. Yes, we know. He is the gay stripper from the Asgarden strip club. His father continued as if he could see through Kevin's thoughts. Yes, he raised Kevin. How could he not see through him? But to beat him unconscious and bring him to your bed is wrong on so many levels, Kevin. His mother almost cried out. Kevin almost fell. What do they think is going on? Kevin almost vomited blood. Shall he call on his ancestors to beat up his parents? Mom, Dad, listen very closely. This is not what you think. But he was cut off again. We know about your other secret as well. We have figured it all out, but we were waiting for you to open up to us, his father said with absolute righteousness. Yes, we know you met your real father even though it didn't go so well. What? How? When? Kevin questioned silently. Yes, did you think we are dumb? A green guy suddenly comes to Earth and starts creating chaos, and he's as strong as you. What else can it be? There are no green humans, so he's probably an alien. Furthermore, he's as strong as you, so he must be your real dad. His mother felt hurt that their son didn't trust them with this. They waited for almost 2 years. Kevin started to feel dizzy. Did they really think that the Hulk is his alien daddy, and that he kidnapped a hunky gay stripper? 30 minutes later, Kevin had explained the reality situation. So you're telling me he is a scientist who was in an accident and gained superpowers becoming green? And that the blonde you brought home is a real alien? 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 Not only that, but he is the mythical Thor? His parents repeated alien thrice. It seems all good things must be repeated thrice. When they say it like that, their own theory sounds more realistic. Kevin grimaced on the inside. Yes, so please in the future, please don't make such assumptions. Kevin had explained everything to his parents. In the future, he has to be careful. His parents have vivid fantasies. Who dares to imprison this prince in this small room? And also, bring this prince some beer. A shouting command was heard from upstairs. Kevin felt more headache coming. Superman landed on the Stark Tower, and he didn't have to wait before Iron Man came to meet him. As for Thor, he had become great friends with Kevin's parents. No, rather, Thor found two alien simps, that's more accurate to say. As such, they became good friends. Thor refused to speak about his situation, seemingly still not completely trusting a man who is way more powerful than any Earthling should be. If only he knew. The same day, Tony Stark also made great news, asking to meet Superman. Iron Man had revealed his secret not even 2 months after putting on the helmet. But it made total sense. He can't juggle being a billionaire businessman and having a secret identity as Iron Man. No one can do that. And there were no downsides to him revealing his true identity. Paparazzi waiting for him at every corner? They already did that. Enemies lurking? They already do that. Woman loving him more? They already do that. Instead, him keeping the secret would sour his business and close relationships. Now, even if he just randomly leaves a meeting, doesn't get to work, or doesn't follow schedule, everybody understands and accepts. And recently Tony had called over dozens of journalists to send one public message through the news. Superman, we need to talk, he said in all seriousness. And as such, Kevin ignored him for about 2 days before flying over. So, you finally called? Superman said righteously, out of necessity. Tony answered smartly. What happened? Superman asked in seriousness as he realized that Tony hadn't called for him because of private reasons. A team is being put together, Tony said while walking past Superman, towards the edge, looking over New York City. Superman just waited for him to continue. A team that can fight together, in situations similar to the Hulk situation, Tony said with bitterness in his voice. And you want me to join your team? Superman asked. But Tony didn't answer. Why the change of mind? Didn't I reach out my hand to you after the Hulk incident? Superman wanted to know what had changed. It's because of you, Superman, another darker, wiser voice said. Superman and Tony turned towards the voice, and out of a corner came a man walking out. Tony showed a hint of surprise for a second before his face went back to normal. The dark-skinned man continued to walk while speaking, his black clothing fluttering in the wind. Because of you, Mr. Superman, and then Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, and now we got aliens on our hand. The man you took away 2 days ago, we tested his DNA. Turns out that he's an alien. Mr. Superman, he said as he stopped just 2 decimeters in front of Superman. Looking straight into his eyes, he continued. He claimed the identity of an Asgardian prince. Add that to the fact that there's a hammer in the canyon that no one can move. If I'd have to bet, I'd bet that we have an Asgardian on our hands. Mr. Superman. The way he added Mr. Superman, almost as if he knew all of his secrets, really gave Superman the shivers, but he didn't show it. Superman knew this man. It's Nick Fury, the world's most dangerous spy. He played more mind games than Loki did. The world's most dangerous spy was telling Superman in a passive way that no matter how well he had hidden himself, that he, the mysterious man that just appeared, knew everything. These mind games would make Superman accidentally reveal more information or cues for Nick Fury to at least gain something new from him. But unknown to Nick Fury, Superman understood his character well enough to see through his mind games. Nick was only pretending to be confident, secretive, and all-knowing. Because of beings like you, humanity is at great risk. We need a team that can assemble at the worst possible situation and turn the tables for humanity. Why now of all times? Superman asked. There is an Asgardian here on our lovely little planet, and an army of blue giants followed him. His arrival brought chaos to this world, and it's getting worse. We need to fight fire with fire. If I join, I won't spill my secrets. I won't join in political agendas, such as a war against another country, and lastly, I will leave the moment I see that our team is going against the interest of humanity. Superman said. He wasn't going to budge on these. Done. You can have this phone so we can contact you. Nick Fury said as he handed Superman a very odd-looking phone, created for very specific purposes. But Superman did not play along. He took the spy phone and simply crushed it in his hand as if he had crushed a cracker. No, if you want to contact me, just flash my symbol to the sky or make great sirens on the Stark Tower that wails, and I'll see it or hear it and be here. Superman man said as he flew up, but he stopped a few meters up and asked a question. How many team members do we have so far? We have 7 members so far. As of right now, one of the members is out trying to get our 8th member. Superman just flew away after this. He knew that Nick Fury was right. The amount of frost giants infiltrating Earth has risen dramatically lately. He had fought multiple of them even after he saved Thor. What are they doing here? Probably after Thor. Kevin thought as he looked down on the city as he flew past the tall buildings. What's that? Someone shouted, pointing at the sky. It's a bird. No, it's a plane. It's Sunny. People who saw him cheered for him as they tried to catch him on video. Suddenly Superman heard webbing nearing him. Superman. Superman. Wait for me, it's me, Spider-Man. We met a few times. Do you remember me? A panicked voice shouted from the sky. Superman slowed down to allow him to get near. Spider-Man had also grown in popularity. There was just one problem with his personality. Thanks, Superman. I want to ask you if I could get your autograph, Spidey asked very nervously as he neared Superman. Yes, Spider-Man had become his biggest fan, and he was super annoying. Whenever he sighted Superman, he chased him down and tried to get an autograph, his number. One time he even asked for one of his suits. He even wanted them to reveal their secret identity to each other. I'll show you mine if you show me yours, he said, talking about their face. But Superman's face was already clear for anyone to see, so it made no sense. Spider-Man, why did you chase me down again? Don't you have lots of crimes to handle? Superman said, exasperated. You can call me Spidey, only if you want. I meant. He totally ignored what Superman asked. I just wanted to ask you if you got the invitation. Are you going to join? If not, then I won't either. Spider-Man said nervously. Invitation? What for? Superman peeked. I'm the super team or whatever. I got a letter. He said, taking out the letter. It says, Spider-Man, a team of people with super abilities are being put together as a team to fight. But Superman didn't listen to the letter. He just looked deadpan at the backside of the paper that Spider-Man is holding. Turn the paper, he said before flying away. Spider-Man stopped abruptly. Confused, he turned the paper. Do not reveal this information to anyone. This is highly confidential, it said in big, red letters. Oh no. I embarrassed myself in front of Superman again. How will I ever be able to ask him to fight crime together now, he thought. Thor was standing on the fields, simply staring up. Why so somber? A bright voice asked him. Kevin. I need to return to Asgard as soon as possible. But I can't, he said with a tone of anger. Is there anything I can help with? No, the war in Asgard is above what you can handle. Is it now? Kevin thought in a chuckle. But you seem so weak, are you sure about that? Kevin asked, trying to get more information. I got mortally wounded, and lost all my strength. That's why I was sent here into hiding, but our enemies found my location. I need to leave or Midgard will be in danger. But my abilities haven't recovered yet. Superman finally understood what was going on. This really doesn't follow the MCU as he suspected. I see, but a Thor, shouldn't you be strong enough to handle any enemy? Who could harm you? 3 of my enemy forces made a joint attack on Asgard. It's better for you to know of those people, those said as he returned indoors. Since staying here, Thor had got to know Superman's real identity. However, he made a vow, a promise on his honor that he shall never reveal who Superman is, or that he knows who he is. He suddenly took flight towards the Grand Canyon. He had heard another commotion there involving more frost giants. Seems like more frost giants have arrived, Kevin thought. They had come to the location where they last spotted Thor, trying to find him. As he arrived, he used laser beams to superheat their brains, one for one. He also noticed lots of people got harmed this time. There was also a person fighting back. It's that woman, with the claws that saved the little girl. Superman recognized. Her leader jacket was ripped, She pounced towards one of the frost giant, dodging his attack while countering with claws through his throat. She looked fierce, but somehow it added to her look. Superman flashed by the rest of the frost giants, breaking their necks, finally arriving at the last one that tried attacking the woman from behind. She turned her head and saw the frost giant fall to the ground totally limp. There stood a tall man at 1.85 meters, smiling brightly. "Are you all right?" "All right," Superman asked as he saw that she had been cut through the shoulder to her upper chest. It would have been a mortal wound, had it not been for the fact that the wound was regenerating at speeds noticeable to the human eye. She instinctively hid her wound with her other arm, almost vigilantly, as if not wanting him to see her abilities. "It's you," she said with recognition. "Do we know each other?" he asked, confused. "You're the man that was spying on us that night. I thought I would have to fight another one, but you just left. I see, you are Superman, understanding the situation better. Thank you for helping that girl. Had you not been there, she would have been hurt," he said in a happy smile. She looked a bit creeped out by it. "No, even if I wasn't there, you would have helped her," she said, in almost discrediting her own deeds. "No, that was just a coincidence. Had I not been in the area, I wouldn't have noticed her. I'm not God. I can't see and know everything at all times. You saved her," he said adamantly. She looked almost shocked that someone else had noticed her for her deeds, and not her mutation. "How did you notice that I was there?" he asked in wonder. "He certainly saw me use my mutant powers. But he doesn't seem to be. Is he also a mutant? No, this might all be an act." She thought for a second. "I have a sensitive nose," she said while turning around to leave, in hopes that he won't stop her and hand her over to the authorities. Looking at her disappearing back, Superman felt the loneliness extruding off her. He hurried to her side and said, "If you have nowhere to go, there is a small town called Branchville. They have a kind population where few really care about differences between mutants and humans," he said before flying away. It's true, most in Branchville seemed exempted from the hatred of mutants. He didn't know why. Maybe something had happened there involving mutants, making the people more okay with them? He felt the need to help her, if this world really treated the mutants as they were in the movies and comics. Hopefully my advice can change her life for the better, Kevin thought. 4 months had passed since then, and Kevin stood in front of Thor waiting for him to speak. "Yes, I feel almost fully healed now. I can finally call back Mjolnir," he said with excitement. He is a warrior, and the warrior's best friend is his weapon. But even if you go back now, will the forces of frost giants leave Earth alone? Kevin asked. "No, I don't expect that," Thor said seriously. "Then you should take responsibility and stay, and protect the Earth at least for a while." Kevin said. He knew how much Thor wanted to go back, see what happened to his kingdom, fight his enemies and redeem himself. Thor looked up seriously for a second. "I tried to leave a while back, but Heimdall won't answer. I fear the worst, my friend," Thor said in regret. Superman didn't say anything. There wasn't anything he could say. "Kevin, can you take the truck downtown and help Lex with her flowers? She'll be at Mary's flower shop in 20 minutes. Kevin heard his mom shout, asking him to help out the neighbor's daughter, the elder sister of one of Elena's best friends. Just as he was going to accept the chores, he heard a wailing sound coming from New York. Turning his head and using his super sight, he saw great light beaming straight towards the sky from the Stark Tower. "I need to go," he said, taking off his clothes, revealing the Superman suit beneath it. "I'll go with you," Thor said as he simply lifted his arm, waiting for something. Suddenly the sound of wailing winds was heard as Mjolnir flew extremely fast towards Thor's hand, as if they were magnetically attracted to each other's. Superman bent down before shooting himself towards the sky. Thor follows by throwing his hammer with great power, while still holding it, making him fly after Superman. They both landed on the Stark Tower, seeing a multitude of people waiting for Superman's arrival, everyone wearing their own colorful suits. They all stood in half a circle, looking towards Superman. Spider-Man stood slightly straighter as he was the most excited at Superman's arrival. Beside him was a man with a bow and arrows. Red-headed woman with guns. A man dressed in a black suit and mask. Another man in a similar suit, red. Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Black Panther, Daredevil. Superman looked at all of them and recognized them. Even though he wasn't as familiar with the Marvel Universe as he was with the DC Universe, and only knew the movies and a bit of the comics, he recognized all that stood here. All people looked towards Superman, at first happy he had come, but then seeing Thor behind him, they all felt bitter. "Why did you bring him?" He is the cause of all this. Tony barked, annoyed. But before anyone could say anything else, a big helicopter flew in and landed on the roof. Nick Fury walked out of it, and he was followed by a skinny, nerdy-looking middle-aged man, and someone all for the present people recognized, Captain America. Is he on our side? Nick Fury asked Superman while looking at Thor. Yes, I can vouch for his character. He a warrior of his word. And is that who I think it is? Superman asked back, looking at the captain. Yes, everybody is here, good. This is Steve Rogers, Captain America. He was frozen in ice and survived until now. Nick Fury gave a short introduction to dispel their disbelief over the matter. They all looked at Captain America, then at Superman. They felt awe standing in front of these two. Steve Rogers was the first super soldier. He fought and saved the world. He is the war hero. Superman is the first to put on a suit and save New York, and then by extension, all over the globe. He had not gone to war. Instead, he saved people from interior enemies and dangers. He is the first superhero. These two were legends in the industry, and everyone felt a hint of respect towards them. They then turned their eyes towards the third man beside them, waiting for an introduction. But Tony didn't need one. He knew the guy. Bruce Banner, Tony said as he raised his palm, pointing his repulsor beam against Dr. Banner, aka the Hulk. Give me one reason I shouldn't blow your head off right now. As Tony revealed Bruce Banner's identity as the Hulk, everyone tensed at this. They had seen the fight, and knew the dangers of the Green Beast. Because I've already tried that, and it didn't work, so I recommend you stop doing that, or else you'll come to regret it. Dr. Banner answered with a warning. Put down your laser hands, Nick Fury said. He is part of the team. We have come to an agreement, yes, and Superman is here so we're safe. Spider-Man gave his own input to the matter. You want me to work with a loose cannon? Tony asked, not understanding Nick Fury's motives. They had known each other for a long time. Even though Tony didn't agree with Nick on many things, he did somewhat trust him. Sometimes, a loose cannon can hurt the enemies more than it hurts us, if used right. Nick answered. He turned towards the group of people and continued. We are gathered here because something bad, very bad is happening. Nick Fury said with a foreboding tone. War is coming, Mr. Stark said. Yes, most of you have noticed that in the last months. Nick stopped here, looking at Thor before continuing. We've had extra celestial visits. You might have even fought some of them yourselves. However, from our analysis, those that visited are only scouting groups. We suspect a full-on attack on Earth, and soon at that. Nick Fury said. Why are they here? Asked Black Panther. That's what I would like to know. Nick answered once again, looking towards Thor. You humans have been protected by Asgard from invaders for thousands of years. Recently a revolt took place in Asgard. 3 great forces joined hands in fighting against us. We fought for dozens of years, and our focus can longer be on protecting the Earth. I secretly took refuge here on Midgard. Earth, after fighting for 3 years straight and being mortally wounded. Thor said with great pride. So they came for you. Spider-Man said in realization. No, even though they were searching for me as well, they are after something else here on Earth, and I'm not sure myself of what. Thor said honestly. We will prepare for war, and you will be the vanguard, who shall avenge the anger of humanity, so now we officially assemble Avengers. Nick Fury said, who will lead the team. Black Panther once more asked. I vote Superman, Spider-Man said excited, while looking at his hero, waiting for praise. Captain America has led many wars and is a great leader. He is the fittest to lead the Avengers. Nick Fury said. Tony's brows furrowed at this, feeling that he should lead. I disagree. Not only was I the first to join the team, I also invested in it and took part of creating it. Steve is of the old. What does he know of the modern times? Only I can lead. No, even Black Panther would be a better choice. Tony said with certainty. Black Panther is a political leader as well as a fighter, but he hasn't led great wars. As for you, you're a fine soldier on your own, but... Nick Fury stopped there, as he had already made his intentions clear. I still disagree. Even though Captain America is a great leader, he isn't super. Spider-Man still had his belief. I agree with Captain America being the leader. Superman finally gave his own input. And then the rest followed. I agree, me too. Steve is a fine leader. I agree, everyone agreed except for Tony and Thor, as they knew what opinion Tony held. They looked at Thor. The only warrior fit to lead is me. but I'm only joining your party for a short moment. So he can lead. Thor said, pointing his hammer towards Captain America. When the army comes, I'll gladly fight with my hammer by your side. He said. After that, everybody got on the helicopter that took them to a secret base in the sky. On a helicarrier that could turn invincible. Everybody got their own rooms and had their facilities for training or building their own things. Superman found Captain America by the edge of the helicarrier, looking down on the world that had changed so much. The world may change, but the people stay the same. Superman said as he joined him. No, I feel like everything has changed. No one I know is left. The world and everything in it is foreign to me. It's taking time to adjust. Steve admitted. You're wrong. Not matter how much the clothing changes, or the technology, or the names of people, or the names of countries, people are still the same on the inside. We still long for love, happiness, and experience frustration and sadness all the same as 100, 1,000 or 1,000 years ago. People want to eat and have a good life, and they strive for it. The outside might have changed, but the inside is still the same. No matter how many times you change your clothes, you're still Steve Rogers, a fine hero. And the world is in danger. The people are in fear for what's to come. Just as 100 years ago, the feeling are the same, and they need you now as they needed you then. Superman said. Evil, war, and frustration will never stop. Steve countered, not because he didn't want to fight the good fight, but because he wanted to understand the young man that stood beside him. And we'll continue to fight evil, until we become a symbol of good, a symbol of hope. Superman said. Steve Rogers was shocked by what he had heard. He was willing to fight until his last breath, but he had never thought of the possibility to become more than a man, a hero, to become a symbol, to become hope itself. You got heart, kid. Where are you from? He asked with a smile. Branchville, Superman answered. Brooklyn, the captain said with a smile reminiscing about his past. Actually, I was wondering if you could help me with something, Superman said mysteriously. You learn quickly, Steve Rogers said as he slightly breathed heavily. I have very good muscle control, Superman said. He has asked the captain to teach him how to fight with technique. Good thinking. A good technique can help you punch up to 3 times harder than if you were to simply brawl. The same goes for kicking, Captain said. Thank you for teaching me, Superman said. Superman has perfect muscle control, meaning that he can essentially control his body very precisely, making him a machine in learning martial arts. He felt it himself as he punched with proper form. His punching almost tripled in power and his speed also increased. Although he hasn't even tried to punch at 1% of his true power. The last time he went all out was in his fight against the Hulk. Help me, Superman. His super hearing picked up a voice screaming for help. I need to go, he said as he flew away. He once again arrived in the village near the Great Canyon. There he found a woman, with shoulder-length hair, laying on the ground. She had glasses, and the backside of her hand rested on her forehead. A lot of people surrounded themselves around her, trying to be of help. Don't touch me, this is harassment. Only my Superman is allowed to touch me, I tell ya, she said as he landed a few meters from her. His eye twitches at this. Why is her voice so familiar? Superman tried to remember if he had seen her face before. The people made way for him, and as soon as she saw him, her face brightened up. Ah, Superman, please help me. I'm in dire need of help, I tell ya. From a hero with strong arms, big muscles, and a tight. She didn't finish, but everybody knew what she meant as they followed her eyesight to Superman's tight bum. Superman really felt awkward at this moment. This is a first for him. How can I help you, ma'am? He said politely. Superman, you need to help me. I was severely attacked and someone stole something important from me. She said very dramatically. Are you harmed? Superman said seriously, ready to carry her to the hospital if needed. Yes, my heart hurts, because you stole it from me, I tell ya, she said while a tear fell down her face. The surrounding people just looked completely aghast at her. Wait, I remember her. She's Karen that was interviewed for the mental hunk case. Someone said, oh yeah, she became a meme, another said. Superman, only you can help me, I tell ya, please give back my heart. She proclaimed her love for him. Ah, sorry ma'am, there's someone in need of help, he said as he flew away instantly, not giving her any time to speak. I think that was my greatest challenge so far, Superman thought. He flew back to his parents' place, hoping to regain his energy with the best food ever, his mum's food. He flew to his room, the windows always slightly ajar. He opened it and went inside. putting on normal clothes over his suit. He heard a lot of people downstairs. Do they have guests? Kevin thought as he walked downstairs. And I swear by the oath of the stars, and by the oath of the moon, and by the oath of Mars, and by the oath of my own doom, and by the oath of the green skin, and by the oath of the spaceship's tune, that I'll search for the alien kin, from Hong Kong to Berlin. As the first chief of the FORGRS, I hereby welcome our newest member to the family of Real Green Entity Researching Sect. Kevin stopped as he heard the chant by all the people downstairs. And the last part was said by his father. He really didn't want to know about this, so he silently went back up, flew down from his window, came to the front door and knocked 3 times. Mom, Dad. I, Kevin B. Collins, am back, he shouted for his parents to hear. After silently counting to 3, he stepped inside. He heard some shuffling as he was walking inside, and there, a dozen or so people sat, looking at him as if they had something to hide. Darling, you're back. Why didn't you call? We had a, his mother said nervously. A book club meeting, his dad finished for her with conviction. But Kevin wasn't convinced. He saw the green alien masks that everybody was hiding behind them, and all their ominous green robes also gave it away. Suddenly Kevin was shocked by a familiar face. It was the woman with the claws and ability to regenerate. She stood up and passed him as she looked outside the window, looking up at the sky as if searching for something. Her brows furrowed. She seemed to smell something familiar. Her eyes went back to Kevin, and stopped for a second before looking outside searching for something. That's Laura. She moved here to Branchville just a few days ago. His mother introduced her. And this is my son Kevin. He isn't part of our book club, she said to Laura, subtly hinting at the fact that Kevins didn't know about their family of Real Green Researching Sect. Kevin pretended to be ignorant. He really didn't want to be part of this. Looking around, he saw many familiar faces. The mayor, Mary the flower shop owner, and other important people of Branchville. I was just going to grab something to eat, but I just got a phone call. I have to go. Good luck with your book club, Kevin said as he hurried away. On his way to his apartment, he saw another group of frost giants causing chaos in the middle of New York. The police are doing their best to support Spider-Man and Daredevil. Superman flew down and took down the frost giants, gaining all attention. Spider-Man went from a brave, quirky hero to a nerdy, shy nerd. Superman, I've been searching for you. Not that I've been literally searching. I mean, I just wanted to meet you, not in a strange way or anything. Superman could almost see his blush from outside the red mask. Daredevil just nodded at him as he escaped the scene. The police profoundly thanked Superman as the people clapped their hands. I guess I just stole the scene from Spider-Man and Daredevil, Superman thought. Just as he was going to fly away, he saw that he was actually in front of a bookstore that had posters of his books. Goblet of Fire, The Return of the King, and The Da Vinci Code, as the posters had his signature CK superscript 1 under it. Maybe I should release another book, Superman figured as left the place. Whenever he flew by, people looked up and shout for him. When he arrived in his apartment, he got a call from his mother. Elena had fought with their parents and left the house in anger. His mom asked him to update them if Elena contacted him. About 1 hour later, he heard a knock on his door. Elena and Kevin had a good talk. Turns out that Elena has aspirations to also walk the path of a crime fighter. She had a fight with their parents about it. She's very adamant about moving to New York, following in her brother's footsteps. Their parents disagreed with her choice and didn't allow her. They're right, Elena, you're not bulletproof, I am, so our situation is different. I'm way stronger than the average criminal. Let me just take care of the cannon fodder, and if any danger does come knock on my door, won't it be safer for me the closer I am to you? Won't my big brother keep me safe? She said with a pout. Elena. Right now isn't the time for you to become a crime fighter. Bad times are coming. So finish school first, and then we'll talk about it, Kevin said, hoping he bought some time. He really didn't want her to become a superhero, especially right now when danger was right around the corner. He picked Elena by the collar and flew her back to Branchville. He also stayed in his old room as it was late. The next morning he came down to eat breakfast with his family. And then he went out to work on the farm. I've missed doing an honest day's work in the fields. Suddenly a doink sound made as he felt a big shovel hit his head. Turning head, he saw Tyler standing there, looking innocent. Sorry about that. It was an accident, Tyler exclaimed. Tyler, recently we're all worried about you. You always spend your free time in the fields and the barn taking care of the farm. Will you ever get a girlfriend like this? Kevin asked in an innocent voice, but he was fighting back with words. Tyler just looked at him and said, "Why would I need a new girlfriend?" Quite innocently, Kevin became slightly worried about this. Does he not want a partner in the future? Is he going to be a lonely old geezer? Kevin, as the elder brother, tried to reason and give advice to his younger brother. Tyler, I know you enjoy working as a farmer, but you can't be doing that all the time. You need to spend time with your friends, and maybe try to find someone you can spend the rest of your life with. Yes, you're young, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try. Look at Mom and Dad. They found each other at your age and have had an amazing life together. Don't grow to be old and alone. The world becomes a lonely and cold place. Humans are social creatures that are meant to build relationships with other humans. Kevin said, trying to make sure Tyler would not end up lonely. Tyler just looked at him before responding. I already have a girlfriend. You should take your own advice to heart. He patted Kevin on the shoulder before walking away. Kevin stood there petrified. The rest of his morning Kevin moved robotically. His enjoyment was stolen from him, and he lost all the peaceful feeling he had before. When did he get a girlfriend? Kevin whispered to himself, as if not believing the words. Kevin, can you take these files to Mary? She should be at her flower shop by now. His mother came to him and gave him a stack of papers in a green folder. And don't look at the files. They are only meant for Mary to see. His mother said seriously. All right, he said in a daze, still mentally damaged from his brother's words. He took the truck and drove to the most popular flower shop in Branchville, also the only flower shop in Branchville. It was also a cafe at the same time. You could buy flowers or coffee while enjoying the flowers. Kevin didn't change his clothes, so he still had a white t-shirt on with dirt on him from the farm work. His jeans are also muddy. As he walked into the building that had big letters saying, Mary's Flower Shop above the door, he called out, Aunt Mary, Mom told me to bring you this folder. But he stopped in his tracks as he saw who stood there in front of the pay desk. It was Laura again. She suddenly frowned and walked past him, looking outside, once again looking towards the skies. Not finding anything, she walked inside again, with a slight frown. She suddenly walked back to the cashier and stood there, gazing deeply into his face. Is Aunt Mary here? He asked, wanting to leave this place as soon as possible. No, she'll be back later. You're Kevin, right? We met at your parents' house. She asked, still looking as if she's trying to figure something out. Yes, I'm Kevin, sorry, but I need to hurry. Could you give these files to Aunt Mary? They are confidential, so please don't look at them. Kevin tried to escape. His glasses could trick technology and the complex eyes of carbon-based life, but can it trick the nose of a mutant? He didn't want to find out. He put the files on the desk before moving out. Thank you, she exclaimed. Kevin came to a halt. Is what I want to say to the person that told me about this place. It's a first for me. To work, to have a home, to have people that accept who I am. She couldn't find any other words to continue. She had always been on the run, hated by everyone simply because she was born, created. And one day a man gave her hope, and that hope came to life. She was more thankful than words could ever explain. If I could, I would also tell him that his secret is safe with me, she said finally. Then you should tell him that, not me, Kevin said as he left the shop. Did she figure it out? Probably. But she doesn't seem to be completely sure, otherwise she wouldn't have kept talking in riddles. If I wasn't Superman, I would have no idea what she was talking about. As he returned home, he took a shower and changed. He's going to return to his apartment, and as he said his goodbyes, his eyes caught something. An invisible plane flew at super speeds from New York. Kevin used his super sight and X-ray to look inside the plane, and there he found the Black Panther hurrying flying the plane. He seemed stressed about something, giving hurried commands through a video to a woman. Realizing something must be wrong in Wakanda, he followed, in case his teammate needed some super help. As soon as they arrived in Wakanda, Kevin couldn't help but to be impressed by their technological advancement. It looked like a deserted mountain range, filled with trees, that is until the plane neared a protective dome, in which part of the dome revealed itself and opened up to allow for the plane to pass. Seeing this, Superman also flew in. When the plane landed on the roof of a castle-looking mansion, so did Superman near it, waiting for Black Panther to come out. Superman instantly noticed the beauty of Wakanda. Sadly, smoke was coming out of the east area. It seemed as if there was an invasion. Superman, why have you come? Black Panther said, with his mask on. He hadn't revealed that he is the Wakanda king. I thought that you might need some help protecting your people. Superman exposed the fact that he knew about his identity. Black Panthers took off his mask, revealing a good-looking middle-aged man. Chala, he said, raising his hand. Superman, he responded and shook his hand. He wasn't ready to expose his identity as an Avengers member just yet. What happened to Wakanda? He asked as he followed Chala into the cast they had landed on. Wakanda was attacked by two trespassers, a leader of a mutant terrorist group and one of their big guns. Chala said as he walked into the king's chamber where important people argued over how they should handle the situation. As soon as they saw their king, they all stood up and gave the Wakanda salute. My king, the enemies have broken through our defenses. The soldiers are trying to stop them, but they're too powerful. An advisor came forward to update Chala. Why have they come here? Their king asked. They came for our resources, vibranium. Another answered. My king, someone said with some questioning in her tone, as she looked toward Superman that had come with their king. He's a friend. How many were killed? Is all Chala said, changing the subject. Not so many, they don't seem to care much for killing, but they are uprooting the whole place searching for vibranium. What should we do? Another female voice said as she entered the meetings hall. Coming before their king, she bowed saying, My king. Stop this, sister. Chala gave her an obvious eye roll. As she saw Superman, she couldn't help but to comment. Ah, I see, very smart brother, using the white man. To fight the white man, she said in a mock tone after seeing Superman. Please don't mind her, every family has their white sheep. Chala said to Superman as he stood up and got ready to fight. Sister, bring me that suit. Chala said. That suit? Brother, please don't try to act cool. I saw you pee in your sleep up till the age of 9. Just tell me what you mean. Shuri. An older woman barked at her, sorry mother. All the people were used to the king and his sister acted like children, so they pretended not to hear anything. The suit you built 2 years ago, the one we haven't used yet, Chala explained. Oh. That suit, shit's going down. She said with very clear excitement. Language, the elderly woman barked again. Sorry, mother. She said. 2 people stood surrounded by soldiers and destroyed Wakanda buildings. One huge, about 2 meters tall, with bulking muscles and a big bunker-looking helmet on his head. The other, also wearing a helmet, similar to that of a Spartan helmet, and a purple cape while hovering above the ground. They were being attacked, but in no way could the soldiers harm them. I already warned you, I will uproot the whole place if you don't give me what I asked for, said the smaller of the 2. He raised his arms, as if trying to feel the iron and minerals beneath the ground. Suddenly the whole of Wakanda started to shake, as if the earth itself was roaring in anger. Magneto was going to bring all the metals beneath the ground and uproot Wakanda. But just as it started, it stopped. Magneto was blown away by a big rubble that was thrown at him. Magneto stood up and looked where it came from. Even Juggernaut got ready for a fight. Superman and Black Panther had arrived. But Black Panther wasn't in his normal suit. He was in a bigger, more robotic suit. Wakanda Hulkbuster, he called it. Superman, why are you here? This has nothing to do with you, leave. Magneto commanded. He didn't think Superman would be here, so he hadn't planned for it. And he would rather not make enemies with the most popular superhero, but he wasn't afraid of it. He's Magneto, a mutant with wicked intentions. He can control metal and is very powerful. Black Panther informed Superman. I'll take him, and you can take care of the big guy. Superman said, and just as he said that, metals from all over the place slithered around his body and held him in place. All of his body was held in place by gigantic metal snakes. Superman felt slightly shocked. The metals were much stronger than normal, probably as strong as Magneto's ability to control it. Magneto did once bend and remove Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. I did not want to make enemies with you, Superman, but do not take that for weakness. He stopped speaking because he had to use more force to hold Superman in place, and soon his face got pale, and his nose started to bleed. Impossible. I've seen your fights. You shouldn't be able to. Magneto said his metal snakes were destroyed by Superman. I've grown stronger, Superman said with a smirk. He saw that Hulkbuster and Juggernaut had started their fight as well, destroying many buildings. He looked at Magneto and said, You've misunderstood something. As he said that, he disappeared. He appeared right in front of Magneto as if he had teleported, and held Magneto's throat. I could end you right now, right here, ending this needless destruction. So how about you back off? Superman said while still having Magneto in his unbreakable hold. Magneto showed slight fear in his eyes for the first time. But he still controlled metals in the surrounding to once again hold back Superman Man, while attacking him with his most powerful metallic attacks. The whole Wakanda shook thanks to them. Superman took a gigantic iron meteor to his face, but he barely felt it. It was comparable to a 1-year-old hitting you. The only thing was that the force of it was so great that he flew back like a bullet, destroying a building. That in itself felt like he had jumped into pillows and marshmallows. Superman stood up from the rubble, looked towards Magneto, and once again disappeared, this time Magneto also gone. Outside the atmosphere, Superman floated still, holding Magneto by the throat once again. Magneto's face was red and blue from the lack of oxygen. Superman just held him, seeing as Magneto tried with all his might to free himself. But in the silent space, he was nothing but a normal human. No metals, no air, and no power. He was totally under Superman's mercy. He could still feel the iron from Earth, but it would take too much time to bring it here, and he was losing strength fast. Superman's message was clear: I can end you whenever I want. As Magneto started to lose consciousness, Superman brought him back to Earth, this time to a desert, and threw him into the sand. Magneto was on his knees, breathing heavily and coughing like mad. This is my last warning. The only reason you didn't die today is that you spared those soldiers and didn't go on a killing spree. But if something like this happens again, I won't spare you. Superman said as he disappeared. Magneto was still coughing until he got his breath back. He looked up to the sky with fear. This experience had taken him back to the time when he was but a boy, a powerless boy in front of strong military Nazi soldiers. The fears, the anguish, and the horror all came back. He thought he had overcome those feelings after becoming one of the strongest mutants, but after experiencing such hopelessness against Superman, it all came back.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.